All right, here we go. My Roomba always decides that 11 a.m. on a Sunday for me is the time to run. Even though I set it there, I got to really remember to change that after stream. So, welcome everyone. Mother's Day. So, hopefully, you're having a good day, whether you're on either side, the giving or the receiving end of that partnership. Today, we're doing the Q&A. That's what we always do. Guys, a few show notes to talk about. One of the things that I forgot last week. I gotta take these headphones off. The echo in here is killing me, as I'm sure it's killing you. My equipment didn't show up. Well, I forgot to click the final checkout button, and I forgot to sign that I gotta work less or something. I've been doing that more and more lately of like, oh yeah, click, 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 and not click the final confirmation checkout. So now they'll be here tomorrow, of course. But the thing I forgot last week is extreme fish foods. You guys have probably heard me talk a lot about those over the last couple of years or so. They are now back in Australia. So from what I've heard, not that I've flown there and checked myself, but there are 30 stores now carrying it again. Whether they all actually have it in stock on the shelf right now or only half of them do, but within, I would guess the week, they're going to be available. So if you guys are waiting to get that, now's your opportunity. Show some love. Because a wholesaler, took the chance, brought it in, and so the more, like I think they sent the best sellers over there, and then after that, the better it does. The wholesalers want to bring in more of the line and all of that. So if you're into that and you're in Australia, there you go. Welcome to all the new members. Thank you for joining. As always, we kind of chat for about an hour before we go live. That's a really good way if you're really trying to get my attention. There's under 100 people, so it's pretty easy, and you can be like, hey, I've got a question, I've been waiting for several weeks, and all of that, and I can kind of get to it. Not every question is built right for just a chat answer, but a lot of them are pretty easy to overcome that little barrier there. If not, head over to the forum.aquariumcoop.com. Pictures, details, work it out with a big group, and we can usually find a decent answer. There are things, though, that we've never seen before. That's always kind of a fun thing, too. Like, you've got that thing we've never seen. Congratulations. So, it's been a week since the last live stream, and quite a busy week for me. We had a bunch of import orders come in, and for plants. One of them was a new vendor. Unfortunately, it had a pest on it, and so we got to pay $600 to destroy a lot of that shipment. So that's always fun when you buy plants, you pay to ship them over, and then you pay to destroy them. So we're pretty stocked up on plants because we had a bunch of orders come in, but unfortunately, there were things that people are like, oh man, when you get more of this and that, they were on that order and had to be destroyed. And a lot of times people ask, like, well, what is it? Like, it's nothing like too crazy. It's not like, oh my gosh, it had, murder hornets or anything, but it's a bug that could potentially live in the United States that's not already native here. And when they see that, then they have to send it away to be destroyed, which rightfully so. So, it's usually not usually, it is the farm's duty to make sure that their stuff is pest free before they send it and all of that. And, so hopefully we will get reimbursed from the farm, but that's always kind of a slow process. And with this one, it was actually the first time we had ever ordered from that farm, trying to fill in some gaps, if you will. So, yeah. But, as far as schooling plants go, it's kind of a funny joke. So if you all remember, when we get some of the rare plants in, like we got some pink flamingo, I posted there first, just give people a heads up. And the members didn't disappoint. Sold them out. We had 85 of them, sold them out in under an hour. So it's getting faster and faster. We have, unfortunately, I think we had to destroy some pink flamingos because of the pests. So we had some more coming in, but that didn't follow through. So that's not good. And now you know how expensive a mistake that is. Like, oh, geez. But, one person said, like, oh, how many plants should I get? And then somehow the joke evolved to, well, it's a schooling plant, right? And so I thought that was pretty funny. And so I kind of want to make that a thing. What is in my... There's like something in my shot that's driving me nuts. I don't know. I gotta look at my screen here. Oh, I know what it is. There we go. Fixed it. So yeah, schooling plants, I am of two camps. I've always told you guys, spend your money wisely, get like one of every type of plant. and see what grows for you in your water. Like there was someone in the chat here who was having some problems with their Vallisneria. They've got like 60 root tabs underneath it, and it could be their water structure is not great for it. It could be a lighting issue. Like there's always, a few different elements that go into growing a plant. But if you bought, a school of those things, 6 of them, and they're not growing really well, you feel really defeated and disappointed. But at the same time, when something takes off, it grows in even faster, So when I'm planting something like the 800 gallon, which I still need to plant some more in there, but there I'm typically doing like 40, 50, 60 pots at a time. Very expensive, obviously, ginormous tank. But right now there's like 2 pots of Vallisneria in there, and given enough time, once they convert, once they settle in, once they, kind of get everything going and the fish leave them alone, they'll populate that whole tank, but it might take a year and a half. And so, like for me on a live stream, that's going to take too long. Like a year and a half from now, I probably will want to change some of the fish in there. Like ladybird will stay there, but I'll probably want to change some things. And so I want that to happen sooner. Hopefully the sound's not too bad. I did get these big old cushion pads for that FX6 that really quieted it down some. Someday I need to get someone that can on the team that builds me like an entire like Amazon-y type store that shows all the little gadgets and things we use, so that it's so you can reference it down the road. Because like I'd have to dig and find these pads, but they were like $20 for 4 of them, and they're super thick, and they're meant for like washing machines and crazy big machinery. But it did quiet down the FX6 quite a bit, and you only use 3 of them because the FX6 kind of has like 3 feet around it, and so it really did make quite a big difference. They smell like rubber terribly though, but my whole floor is rubber, so you got a little bit of rubber smell in here. This, by the way, is a giant green screen that needs to be put up. It's like, I don't know, 14 or 16 feet long. It's going to take a few people, so that's why it's going to have to sit there for a while. I live in Canada, and I really want some Aquarium Co-op Mercy. Guessing merch. Is there a way to buy it? Mostly towels and a sweater. There is a way that you can get some of the merch, and that would be on Teespring. Oh, wait, hold on. Can I highlight something? Do we have a sweater on here? You could get the super... Let me see. How do I highlight this thing? Trying. I'm going to pin it. Does that work? It says it's doing something. But that you can order that merch worldwide in that Teespring store. So there's different shirts, a couple mugs, a sweater in there, that kind of stuff. You can choose your color and your size. But we don't have a full like worldwide launch yet, or even a lot in Canada. It's all on the to-do list. We need a bigger warehouse. We need to finish moving. There's so many things that need to happen. But that's the way most of the world could order some merch, which I realize not ideal. Yeah, I have looked into other shirt vendors and that kind of stuff, and we still just need at some point to hire a like merch person where all they do is they're in charge of making sure merch gets to different countries, making sure we launch new merch, making sure we have artists working with us, making sure we look at different things. And it's just, another thing on the plate of like, someday we'll get to it, and hopefully sooner than later. So, could my Pictus catfish be eating my cardinal tetras? 100% yes. They're in a 75 gallon, and 5 cardinals have magically disappeared. Yeah, they're kind of a ball of terror. They're super active, cool fish, but all fish pretty much, if it fits in their mouth, it'll go there eventually, or could go there. And they got a decent sized mouth, and they're kind of known for, yeah, you look snack size, and turns out, there they go. And they're more nocturnal or dim lit predators, and that's when a lot of tetras and things kind of settle down, if you will. And so they become easy prey. So I would say it's highly likely that could be going on for you, unfortunately. My Val takes a while, but then it goes crazy. Yeah, Val is a weird plant. Unlike most plants, they maybe settle in a week to 10 days, and then you're like, look, I'm seeing the growth, like with stem plants and that kind of stuff. With Val, it like will just do nothing for like a month, 6 weeks, and all of a sudden you're like, look at that, new one, like every 3 days. Where a Nubius is like, it's just like, oh yeah, I make a new leaf, like if you have no CO2 and just low light, like I make a new leaf every 22 days, like, and it just slowly grows like that forever, from the day you get it even. So it's, each plant kind of has a different mode, and obviously light, CO2, water parameters, how good or bad they are for that specific plant will speed or slow down those processes. It's kind of like fish. Like if your water is just magically great for that fish, usually you're going to get things adapting faster and things going in your favor better, quicker. Whereas if your water is really far off, it's not that you can't do it. It's that it might take a little bit longer for them to really start eating well and really start producing babies and not having fungal issues and little things like that could be problematic. So in my mind, what are some good background plants with contrasting color and shapes for a Dutch-style aquascape? All the plants that I can't currently get, pretty much. We're trying to, I really like Lidernia rotundifolia variegated, also called the watermelon plant. We sourced a few sources, and all of them, we bought them from eBay, right? And we're like, great, we'll take 60 pots of it so that we can supply our vendors. And then magically oh, don't have any. It's one of those, I cannot stand vendors that do that. Now, not that we don't get caught with our pants down every once in a while. It's we had 1,000 of those, we sold 1,000. Turns out somehow one got damaged. We only had 999. We have to apologize to a customer. It's another thing when you order 60 of something and then they go, oh, we don't have any, right? So that's never good. Oh man, my stream might have buffered for a second because my internet's been a little wonky lately. Not a ton, but a little bit. My Java ferns are turning brown. I have super soft water, which I dose with Easy Green. Lots of other plants in there too. I'm missing some minerals, probably. Light can be very low with those. So usually it's not a lighting problem. With really soft water, sometimes you could have not a lot of calcium, magnesium. Well, time to plug my products because I'm bad at that. Have you yourself some easy test strips? I guess they're not easy. The multi-test strips. You get some of these, you can at least look at your hardness. Right here, this purple one. Matches my shirt. How hard is my shirt? 150 hardness on my shirt. That'll give you an indication of how much kind of calcium, magnesium you might have in there. But it could be other things too. So test strips and test kits typically only test for those two. You can always cover your bases. Maybe you add in some Seachem Equilibrium or it's hard to know. I don't recommend just adding things to add them. You kind of have to play detective and go, what could I be missing here? And there's lots of test kits to start delving into that. But, for majority of probably aquariums, sometimes changing water will help. Like a lot of these trace elements and maybe calcium might be present in your water. Whereas my old home, it was not. And so I had to artificially add everything that I wanted to add. And yeah, but I don't want to just tell you well, go add those things. It probably would help. But you can also be well, now your water's way too hard. One of the easiest things I think you could do in that situation is maybe add I didn't see how large the tank was, but maybe add a teaspoon of marine salt. There's a lot of minerals in marine salt. And it won't really raise your salinity, and it shouldn't harm anything, and you'll get a lot of that. And if you get some better growth going, you'll know, but you're not going to be able to repair the brown spots on your Java fern. Those are always pretty much going to be there. The new leaves could stay doing really well, but you got to play with that. And that's what's fun about aquariums is each tank is going to be different. Not everything's going to work for everyone. I have a sneeze sneaking up on me, so whew. It'll come in a second. Why don't you promote the chlorine test on the test strips? Basically, nobody has it on theirs. I don't know, because it's never been an important one for me. I'll use it every once in a while. All right, hold on. Woo! Sorry for your ears there. Yeah, I think the Tetra ones have it. I know there's a couple that do have it, and so rarely is it I need to know. Nitrate, hardness, and buffer and pH all the time. Nitrate if something's going wrong, and chlorine if I'm at a new water system, or I personally don't test for it after dechlorinator, but I usually overdose dechlorinator if I'm using dechlorinator, and I use auto water change systems. To me, it's kind of like a quick read thermometer. So if you have a stick-on thermometer on your tank, it's there purely so that you can like just make sure it's not crazy. And that's what I view the chlorine test pad on these for, is like, yeah, you might be, wait a second, I got chlorine? That's not supposed to be that way. But not so much like I better test for chlorine every day or every time I do water change, but mostly just to make sure. In fact, it throws me off a lot of times. I look at and it's like, oh yeah, that's not, because it's the chlorine pad on here when you have 0 chlorine is the same as you have 0 buffer. And so basically what has happened is I've used Tetra test strips and that kind of stuff for so long, and the bottom was always pH, that it makes me think my pH is bottomed out. And I have to double take like once a day every time I'm using them, just because I'm usually testing so many tanks. You know, especially I'm using them a lot right now while cycling a lot of these ponds. Like one of the ponds that has mollies in it, that doesn't have the most mollies, but I must feed it heavier, or the cycle's not moving as fast as the other ones. It's got a little bit of nitrite in it, so I do extra water changes in that one. The fish are doing fine, but I'm using it to check up on those types of things and just see where things are settling out, and you know, is pH crashing or anything like that. Nothing like that's going on, which is good. But yeah, I mean, we fixed the test pad problem that it had. Basically, they made the pad half as thick, so that way the glue basically attached to the bottom half of the pad. The top half of the pad was falling off. They make the pad half as thick, reads the same amount, and doesn't fall off. So we were able to fix that. And I think long term, these are going to be kind of a great seller and a staple in the hobby. Right now, there's still enough pushback from people of like, well, test strips aren't accurate. Mine's doing this thing, mine's doing that thing. I tested it versus this, it was super accurate. I tested it versus that, and it wasn't accurate. And all of that kind of chimes up to, I think, different people's water and different ways of testing. You know, you can have one person say, oh, I tested versus all these kits, it was accurate. The next person says, I tested versus the same kits, wasn't accurate. People are using different amounts of water and different sterilization techniques. And, you know, at least I know from my testing, we did a lot of testing. It was accurate with the known solutions and everything I did. And short of the manufacturer changing something crazy, they're going to be accurate, at least to as accurate as I need for any of the stuff I do in my aquariums. And obviously, you know, if I open a new, like, well, I'll be lagged behind because I don't use them, you know, I use like 30 of them every day, but the store uses 30 plus probably every single day testing people's water. And so we go through a ton of test strips there. And so if a bad batch was to ever happen, we would see it there first. Well, I mean, we'd probably see it with customers, they'd start raising some concerns, and then we would check with the store, and if they were having the same thing, then we would know, and then I would get involved in testing. But it's, you know, something like this, usually it's once it's set it and forget it. They're just going to produce the same way every time, unless I tell them to change it. It's high quality H2O. I like the chlorine test because I cannot add a water filter to my water, and I don't know what the city is doing to my water, but your explanation makes sense. Yeah, I just always overdose dechlorinator. Most dechlorinators, you can dose up to like 10x the recommended amount. So maybe I do 2 to 3x. I don't even measure. I just kind of like squirt a decent amount in there, which obviously if you're not, you know, well versed in doing that, maybe you do need to measure it out and you could do a little bit more. But after you've been, you know, when you have 50 tanks at a time and you've been doing that for years and years and years, you kind of just know, like, yeah, squirt some in there. That's not nearly way too much and not too little. It'll be all right. I'm gonna unpin this merchandisey thing. All right. My Glossostigma carpet keeps growing hair algae. I changed the light setting on my Flue Ball 3.0, 16 gallon. Whoa. 3 months old, had CO2, but haven't refilled the tank in a month. Water change is 1 time a week at 25%. You've kind of got all the right things to make a disaster there. 16 gallon with a Flue Ball 3.0, you'd have to turn that thing down to like 25%, and even that's going to be pretty strong light. I mean, maybe not exactly 25%, but unless that's a column tank that's crazy tall, that is an absurd amount of light. Glossostigma is one of the kind of the lower light type carpeting plants, so it doesn't need crazy amounts, and also it really does benefit from CO2. So running out with that, and the biggest problem you've got going on, I would say, in a planted tank is well, so let's say you're using Easy Green, right? Are you using Easy Green? It doesn't say, but let's say you're using Easy Green and you've got your light set, right? So you've got your light. Let's say it was at 100%. I don't know what it was at, but let's say it's at 100%. Your light's at 100%. You're dosing Easy Green maybe 3 times a week, and you've got CO2. And with that combination, it eats up all the Easy Green, right, in a week. Then you do your 25% water change, which you probably don't need to do, but let's say you do that, right? And then next week you do the same thing, and your tank's going that way. And then you ran out of CO2. Well, now you're dosing the same amount of Easy Green in there. The problem is, without the CO2, the missing ingredient, with all that high light, it's not going to be able to use up all the fertilizer. And that's going to create a really good situation for algae to really start thriving. And it can be hard for people to find that balance. And my guess, without being in person at your tank, testing it and looking at it and see what's going on, is that the light is too strong. You're running out of some fertilizers. You already ran out of CO2, which is basically like a fertilizer. Water naturally has CO2 in it. So for a lot of our low light tanks, there's plenty of CO2 in there. It's not a worry. When you get high levels of light, you start eating nutrients faster. You can run out of CO2. That starts becoming a limiting factor. And then you've got all this fertilizer laying around that's not being utilized. And algae can utilize any one part, right? So it can eat nitrites, it can eat nitrates, it can eat algae, it can eat ammonia, it can eat phosphates, it can eat potassium, any one. Where a plant, it needs like a building block of all of those to grow. So if you're missing just one of them, then you don't get good plant growth. It retards a bit, which slows it down. And the algae keeps feeding. The other thing too, I would recommend if you're not doing it, is eliminating all the blue light out of your fluval light. That is definitely something I do on as many of my fluval lights as I can, really, is eliminate the blue. The blue will make the fish look a little better, especially if you have cardinal tetras or neon tetras or anything like that. But in terms of algae or plants don't see the blue spectrum very well at all. In fact, if it's like actinic, they can't see it at all. So especially if you've got that in a nighttime setting, that's really going to be contributing to your algae growth, because the plants can't utilize it, can't photosynthesize from it. They can only, on average, maybe up to 14 hours photosynthesize, where algae can do it 24/7. And so there's always going to be at least that 10 hours of light if you're doing kind of that nighttime mode, that the algae can keep growing where the plants can't. And so they'll be utilizing fertilizer when the plants can't. Welcome, Wyatt, to the NERMS. How to dose fertilizer with auto water change system, changing water every day or every other day. Well, you could overdose. That's kind of what I do. So let's say like I've got a 100-gallon pond, and I might go dose 11 squirts of Easy Green in there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I just do it that fast, like get it in there. And then I know after a day, right, plants are going to utilize some. And then the water change will have taken out some. Let's say you've chosen to do a 10% water change, right? And so maybe you're out about 15% of the Easy Green you had in the first day. Well, then that's going to happen the next day and the next day and the next day. And you can kind of just figure out, like, whether you're changing it out or your plants are consuming it, it works the same way. If you put in 11 pumps of Easy Green and 5 days later you're out, you got to put in more at the beginning, right? If you have a bunch of nitrates left in the water at 7 days, you got to put in less. And that's where test strips really help. And, at the beginning, maybe you're doing 11 pumps and it lasts you too long, 2 weeks, right? But 4 months down the road, 11 pumps only lasts you 3 days, because the plants are going gangbusters now, even though you didn't change the water change or anything like that. So that's why it really can help to maybe once a month track things, where you're looking at it and going, okay, this week I'm going to track it, or every 3 months, some interval on your tanks, because it's always going to be changing. Same thing if you had a bunch of plants and then you come in and do a big trim. Well, now they're going to consume at a different rate, and you could be overdosing or underdosing. And that's where algae crops up all the time, is because we make mistakes because we're not actually watching it. We think, oh, I've dialed it in, I know how it works. But the reality is, you dial it in once, not set it and forget it forever. It's, well, set it for a while and then go ahead and check back in on it, make sure it hasn't changed from what you thought was going on. Because even just changing types of plants, or you can get plants that'll start growing really well that weren't growing so well in the past. like let's say you had the Vallisneria, right? You plant a tank, you got Vallisneria, you got some stem plants, you got some Anubias. First month you're dosing, everything's dialed in. But month 3, Vallisneria is going gangbusters. And so that is now a new plant that, even though it's been in your tank the whole time, it's a new plant in that it's growing really well and consuming different nutrients at a different rate than what you have kind of set the tank to do. Plus, plant mass is growing the whole time. You might be trimming. And so that's what makes it a hard moving target and not easy. If it was easy, we'd all be able to go, hey, you just do X, Y, and Z, and you'll get this result every time. And we don't, from tank to tank or from hobbyist to hobbyist. But I also think that's what the lure of it is you gotta keep on it and practice and learn and view signs. Like, yeah, I'm getting a little, like, algae is just a sign. People see it all the time when they're like, wow, I got a bunch of algae. But what about when you had pinholes in leaves? What about when you had a little bit of yellowing going on? What about when it wasn't growing so well? Or what if it was growing, like with stem plants, I see it all the time, they grow too leggy. But people are like, yeah, it's growing. Well, yeah, it's growing, but it should, like, each node should have been closer, right? Or leaves are becoming twisted. The signs are there. Whether as a hobbyist we want to learn them or not, that's up to us, And for most of us, like with a house plant, I would be of the same variety. Take me out of my element. It's not dying. It's growing. Hurrah! I'm doing well. But then you'll find the people that really know that plant. They're like, well, this thing's actually deficient of this. This is going on. And I think as aquarists, we strive for that higher level. Like, I really want to know what's going on. But we oftentimes don't put in the extra, well, I better become a super nerd when it comes to this type of plant even. All right. Which floating plants do I recommend? If you can find broadleaf water sprite, I really like that one. Almost any aquatic plant can be grown floating. Lots of stem plants for sure. Crypts, they don't really are meant to grow that way, and Nubias aren't meant to grow that way, but they will continue to grow. If I had to pick a couple, I like broadleaf water lettuce or water sprite, and I like water lettuce. Those are like my two go-to if I want lots of floating. There's all kinds of stuff. Amazon frogbit, there's red root floater, there's so many things. But those are the two that are manageable. It's easy enough to kind of remove. And my favorite is the broadleaf water sprite, but it's so hard to find consistently. What about Crinum calamastratum? Something about it. Someone's asking something about it. They're just hard to come by in that farms aren't making enough of them. That's really what it comes down to. We buy as many as we can. They're not that hard to grow. They need a lot of root tabs. They're a pretty slow growing plant to make. Like, it might take like 18 months before it's making babies. So that's one of the reasons why it's not like a stem plant where you just cut it. Hey, I made another one. You can't just like cut a leaf off and like, hey, I have another crinum. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately, with that plant. So it makes it harder to propagate, which raises the price, which means it's harder to get. Is it in stock? It could be in stock. I don't know. I have to look. Plants come and go kind of so fast that, let's see if it's in stock. It is in stock today, so you guys could actually buy some. We're always out of stock on. I'm actually surprised it's in stock. So get it while you can get it. That's what I would say. Buy all the plants. Like, I think right now we're doing pretty good on plants. So I do this check every day because I'm always trying to hold myself accountable. My goal is to somehow find a way where we can be 100% in plants all the time, which is a crazy lofty goal. It's not likely, right? But we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 out of the 49, I think we have. 47. Yeah, and some of it's just really hard. Like Buse, I think we still have on here somewhere. And like Tiger Lotus, right now in the summer with Tiger Lotus, it's actually too hot for the farms to grow. So it's almost impossible for us to get that one. We're out of season to have banana plants collected, so that's kind of a problem. Pink Flamingo sold out. We had to have some destroyed, all that kind of stuff. And then Anubiases have just been very hard to import. And then the places that grow them in the United States, the tissue culture farms, they've been severely affected by COVID. But for most, we're doing well on most. Yeah, we are out of use, but and we're trying some more plants. Like we need a bigger warehouse. We are trying to get some more plants. Java moss, and that's a big one right there. Um, we're working on it, but we also don't want to expand and then quality go down. Like, hey, we have 12 new types of plants, and all plants are equally a little bit crappier now because we don't have time. And we have to make, so just to launch a new plant, right? We have to make not everyone that works in the warehouse is a plant or an aquarium nerd. And so you have to make guides of like, what's an acceptable one to send out? What's one that we would hold back, not send out? Like, how do you teach, so maybe you're an aquarium nerd. How do you teach someone in your family the difference between dwarf Sagittaria, Phallus and jungle val? Like, even though the tanks and everything are labeled, there's still a chance to make a mistake. And, so we have to make almost like flashcards. We have, different standards, and also what is considered acceptable. Like, okay, so we get, let's say Phallus from 5 different vendors, this tall versus this tall versus this tall versus this tall versus it had one bad leaf. Can we trim that and send it versus this one's actually too far gone? And so we have to make all these guides and train and do all that. And it's exponentially harder when you start adding new species on, because if you add 5 at a time, well, how was I supposed to remember that Ludovigia species red is supposed to be this red, and this one's supposed to be more of a purple, and this one's supposed to be doing this? And so it's, we try to add species on when it makes sense. The other big thing, like we sent Randy out, he was having meetings with plant vendors and trying to get commitments of people to actually just make us more plants. And somehow we can't do it. Like, we can't get that commitment yet, but we think we might have some. Like right now we have a lot of Pogostem and Stellatus octopus, which is actually a great pond plant, by the way. Dean's you'll see probably a Dean video this next week. He's gonna put some in his ponds because I've got some going in my ponds. They're going really well, and great plant, I think. Just in general, fast growing, easy to propagate to a bunch of tanks. I love that plant. But I wasn't really talking about it a whole lot because we were struggling so much to get it in. And so now we've got some commitments from some farms, and they say it should be able to keep us fully stocked. Right now we're stocked, but I've seen that song and dance so many times. Like, don't worry, we got you covered, Aquarium Co-op. Oh my gosh, you sell way more than we thought. Yeah, that happens all the time. Even though we tell them, because we have the software, we have forecast demands, we can show, oh yeah, we sold, 2,982 of these in the last 90 days. Okay, no problem. We'll start getting the tables ready. We'll get all this ready. Then pretty soon, like 4 months later, you're like, how are you out? Oh, well, you started selling more. It's like, well, yes, we told you that's how many we sold. We also told you how much we think we grow by each month. And we also told you that was being in stock 80% of the time. So really, you got to take that 20% plus this 20% growth, and we needed 40% more than the original forecast. So it's always this catch-up game that we're continually playing. And then you throw in things like a couple years ago, we had the typhoon that knocked out like all of the Opontagitans. We have COVID at this point. You have droughts. You have hurricanes that hit Florida. All these things reset production. And we do everything we can to go, okay, well, here's what we think we need. Plus, if a hurricane hits, what's that going to look like? And we can't just store plants forever. So, but that is our goal. We're getting better and better at it every year of like, okay, how could we, get in there and get what we really need just that little bit better. PSO, that's a handful. Pogostem Stellatus octopus, call it PSO. I like that. PSO. That's easier to say for sure. Is plants consuming nutrients a limiting factor for bacteria growth? Maybe in a corner case scenario of the plants consume all the calcium or something like that. Like, I could see on a level I don't understand, so I want to be apparent there. I'm sure at a certain level there are some basic building blocks of bacteria, for the most part, that we could run out of in a home aquarium if in extreme scenarios. I don't think that's going to come into play with most of the average hobbyist scenario. I just saw this guy was upside down, so I'll show him to you guys. He's my coolie loach. I don't know why I love this guy so much. I don't even keep any coolie loaches, but I keep this one up above me because he's awesome. And people always ask after the fact or whatever, paleo plushie or something like that is where I get them. You gotta look it up online. And she only, I think it's a she, uh, makes very limited runs. So when she makes them, because she hand makes each one, it's not like, oh yeah, I had China make me up 20,000 of these. Each one is handmade, and they're not cheap. You know, I want to say something like this was probably like $40. It's not cheap, but they're super cool. I just like them. I've got this clown loach that she made too. I just like how the whiskers are kind of derpy. But yeah, something about handmade stuff. I really like. What do I have over here? Is this the Dojo Loach? She did a bunch of loaches. Yeah, this is the Dojo Loach. Yeah, here it is. Paleo plushies made by Rebecca Groom, April 12th, 2019. So yeah, my weather loach or my Dojo Loach. I don't know why, like some of them, you know, like proportionally size wise. I don't know. Oh, and I've got a biter too. Here's my Polypterus palmus. Yeah, this one's got like beans in it though, so it like sits better. This guy is just all all filled in. All right, that's enough show and tell for today. I'll save some of my other little trinkets and knickknacks for another time. I like hornwort. Hornwort's pretty good until it dies. Hornwort's your best friend until it doesn't get enough food, and then it sheds every needle into your aquarium or your pond, and it's just death. Like, oh, try and net it out. It's never ending. Gets caught in the net. It's good when it's good. When it's bad, it's all over. What's the difference between fertilized and unfertilized eggs? I'm trying to breed golden wonder killifish. Mostly what you're going to see is an unfertilized egg for most species turn like a white milky color, whereas a fertilized egg will turn more of a golden color. Not always. Like there's like some apistos that turn pink. There are some other colors, but almost uniformly things will turn white and then start fungusing if they haven't been fertilized. So that's what you watch out for. And in some species of fish, like rainbows and stuff that kind of more scatters in a mop, you might even collect all the eggs, or Corydoras, another good example. You collect all the eggs, right? You got them maybe you have them on a dish or something, or a container, and you'll start seeing some turn white. Now you have to remove those, actually, because the fungus will start spreading to the viable eggs. And so that's where you read about keeping eggs from fungusing and all of that. Most times, like even rams too, maybe 80% of eggs get fertilized well because they have to release the milk, they're in water, not everything goes to plan. There could be predators like, oh, Mr. Snail coming by, oh God, kill him, gotta move him, and they forget to come back and start exactly where they were on fertilizing. And so there's things that can go wrong there. And so that's what you're looking for, really. But like with golden wonder killies, they're probably just going to lay in a mop for you, pick the eggs, or move the mop, and maybe half or more will hatch out for you. And Mother Nature's kind of made that way. Not every one of them is always going to hatch, and so you just want to make sure they don't get contaminated. And that's not really a problem too much in a spawning mop, whereas like angel eggs and ram eggs, stuff they're going to lay a big cluster all at once. They can spread out throughout the whole thing if you're not careful. Do I know why black skirt tetras aren't talked about very often? I think it's just one of those basic fish. That's the only thing I can really come up with is why aren't they? I mean, they're an okay fish. I don't think they're like, I like a black phantom tetra more than I like a black skirt tetra, but black skirt tetras are more common. I've kept them. They're not bad fish. They're typically very hardy. They can be a little bit nippy, but so can black phantoms and serpe tetras and all that. So I think for the most part, the reason why a creator like myself wouldn't make a video about it is there's no quality about it that will reach outside audiences. So what does that mean? That means that if I make that video, maybe a tenth of you guys want to watch it, and then the odds of me pulling in someone who's into reptiles, very low. Where if you do like a crazy looking fish or an arowana or a $100,000 koi, you have a chance of someone clicking on it outside of the industry and pulling a new person in. And so I think the return on the investment of making that video is lower, and so that's why you have less people making it. Not that it shouldn't be made, But yes, I mean, I definitely think there's room in YouTube right now for someone to cover like every single fish that's ever been made and do a good job of it, not just read Wikipedia, keep the fish, especially all the common ones, Petco, PetSmart, chain fish, common stuff. Keep it, learn about it, like research, not just go, well, in the wild it has this. Like, that's not what we're doing. And then give your actual knowledge about when I kept it, here's what I experienced. I think someone can make a whole channel out of that, and it will do nothing for probably 2 or 3 years. And then years like 4, 5, 6, and 7, all of a sudden people are going to go, wow, how'd that channel get so big? And it's like, well, they had a catalog of 4,000 different fish. They did an insane amount of work for no return. And then the algorithm picked it up. And when people are researching fish, they trust this person as a source. And it's just a hard road. It's a very slow business to start, really, I think. By the way, if I haven't mentioned in a while, the Easy Green, you do get twice as much Easy Green for only $5 more. So this bigger bottle that treats 5,000 gallons is $20. So, and if you've been following us from way back, you know that it used to be 2,500 gallons for $20. And then it was smaller bottle, 2,400 and some gallons for $15. And now we're back to $20 for 5,000 gallons, which is the best ratio we've ever had. And I think these should be hitting Canada very soon. If they're not already there, well, I could probably look. Let's see if they're already in Canada. Amazon Canada. Let's see if our listing is updated. Nope, not yet. So they're not quite there yet. But soon you'll be able to get for the same price. We're not upping the price at all. So this is actually one of the reasons. So you guys can know this. If you're Canadian, you're like, yeah, win one for the Canadians. We wanted to go, well, we felt guilty, right? Because we don't really make any money. Like with this price at $35, I think we make $1. I'm not even sure we make $1, but it's somewhere if everything goes right, we might make $1 because of the shipping, the import fees, all the crazy stuff that goes along with it. And so people are obviously like, $35, crazy, man. You sell $15 in America. I know there's conversion rates, there's the shipping, it's crazy. So then we go, how do we solve this problem? And one of the goals is, hey, if we make it like $35 to treat twice as much is more attractive than half as much. And so then to do that, we launched it in America too. Now we did raise the price by $5 in America because it does cost us more to do it, but it's not proportional. What I mean by that is shipping a container that's half as much. Like by the time I got to pay someone to put it in a special box for Amazon, we got to include the sticker, we got to do all these extra little processes for it. That's money. Where more liquid, not so bad. Like, yeah, it costs more to ship, but we were able to sneak that in, and it works out where we still basically make the $1. But there's a lot of Amazon fees. Like, if you sell something for $1, you're like, well, to pick it off the shelf is 50 cents, and to do this is 50 cents. And so that's where if we sold big screen TVs, it might be great on Amazon. But that should be coming soon. Thank you to everyone that's leaving us reviews on Amazon. That does help get us some better placement and that kind of stuff. So we do appreciate that. All right. Unfortunately, like I know some of the other brands that are on Canada and I know what they're doing. And I'm like, you're not legally importing and doing all these things. There's a lot of people that just like drive a truck across the border and hope for the best, and works for now, but eventually you're going to run into some problems. Like it's, not a good thing. I thought it was on your website. Why is he selling a welder? Yes, Easy Green is shrimp safe. There is a vendor who is saying that Easy Green is not shrimp safe. All I can say is, how many of you guys have shrimp tanks with Easy Green? No problems. We have a store filled with it. I have aquariums. Dean does. Like, I don't know how many thousands of gallons that I've put through tanks, but I have never been able to make a correlation between Easy Green and shrimp having a problem. Now, that doesn't mean it couldn't. Like I know that if I took a shrimp and I was like, you have to live in here, okay, that's probably not going to work out. But in any normal application, it's not. And you know, I'll never call them out by, well, I shouldn't say never, but I'm not going to call them out by name. I believe they're actually using it as a crutch to not warranty claims and that type of stuff. And I think people should work more with their customers and figure out what the true problem is, because you know, we could always default to like, oh yeah, your plant died, pfft, local water. Oh yeah, it's your local water. You know, and the reality is it's our job to make sure that plant thrives no matter what your home conditions are, right? And that's the reason I don't do livestock, by the way, is it's very difficult. And I know it's difficult, and that's why I don't do it. But if you're gonna take that challenge, you got to step up to the plate and go, hey, I'm gonna make sure people are successful. And that's a hard thing to do. And my hat's off to you if you want to attempt it, but it's not easy. Yeah, lots of people, my shrimp are fine. Yep, lots of babies. Yeah, exactly. And that's, you know, if the problem is, if you don't know us as a company or you're new to our brand and that kind of stuff, you might be like, well, this other company says that's a thing and they're saying it's fine. Who do I trust? Right? And all I can say is like, well, you can trust the masses or you can trust this other company. That's the choice you have. And I don't battle for us. You know, I don't tell them like they're full of crap and blah, blah, blah. I just go, well, a lot of us are using it. I can't guarantee it. If you feel that we're in the wrong, we'll refund you. But I don't think that's the case here. I find killing people with kindness usually works. Like, hey, if you think we're the culprit, let's give you your $20 back. You know, I don't want to be, it's not worth the bad publicity for us if someone's convinced that our Easy Green, you know, has done something. Let's just give you your money back. I'm sorry it didn't work out for you. We'll work on the next 500 people that are going to be super happy with our product. Because at the end of the day, we always have to ask people, like, what is it that you want here? Do you just want to yell at us? Do you want your money back? Like, what will make you happy? You know, if I go to Wendy's, people were talking about Wendy's earlier in the chat, and I go and I order a cheeseburger and it's not good. If I go to complain, I need to have an outcome I expect. Hey, I'd like a new one. I'd like my money back. I'd like, you know, you need a result. And so we try to just go, well, what's the result you're looking for? Oh, okay. The cheeseburger killed your shrimp and you want your money back and an apology? Great. Here's an apology and your money back. Sorry about that. You know, as easy as that. Speaking of shrimp, do they really need shrimp food with copper in it, like Hikari Shrimp Cuisine, for the molting? I don't know specifically what copper does for shrimp, as in like, oh, is it going to help in the molting process? But every creature basically needs those trace elements in minute amounts. I don't think you should go out of your way to find a food that has copper in it. Instead, I think I just wouldn't be worried that if a food does have some copper in it. Does that make sense? Right? It's kind of one of those, like, I always try to put my, you know, well, let me put my nerd glasses on. Oh, they're all dirty. I'll put my nerd glasses on here. Sometimes if I'm really getting deep into spreadsheets and I'm really going next level nerd, I got to put the glasses on because my eyes start hurting. I'm getting old. It's getting old. Oh, no. So let me put the nerd thinking glasses on here. Oh, you see reflections. It's terrible. Oh, if I look this way, it's not so bad. But basically, here's what I like to think about. So if food in copper, no, wrong way. Nerd glasses, hold on. If copper in food was to kill shrimp, an invertebrate, right? Let's say that's a thing. At high, let's, you know, in Hikari Shrimp Cuisine or whatever. Like, well, let's see. The Vibrabites, do they have any copper in it? I got B12 and D3 and zinc and manganese sulfate, copper sulfate. So right here, I actually feed these to my shrimp too. But a good example. This has copper sulfate in it. If the copper in here was high enough to kill shrimp on that level, then why wouldn't it kill like ick and snails and these other things that we use copper, right? Copper safe and other treatments to kill these parasites. So if it'll kill a living organism, but it wouldn't kill, you know, so what I'm trying to say is, like, imagine you're feeding this to your fish, this molly right here, right? It's eating its weight in Vibrabites. In theory, when ick was like, ooh, let me eat on you, it'd be like, oh no, copper, I'm dying. but there's not enough copper in there. So it's very trace amounts. And that's the thinking cap I like to put on, or the thinking glasses of, oh, well, yeah, it can't be that high. I mean, not everything's got the same lethal dose rate, but on a principle of just starting to think about it, like, well, if it was that high to kill fish, it would also be killing the invertebrates and the parasites and other things, so it could be used to our advantage. And I don't believe we're getting that benefit, because otherwise we'd all be going, yeah, feed vibrabites, because you'll never have ick again, right? And then it might be at a high enough dose that, yeah, it would be killing shrimp and things like that. But I believe that would probably blow out a fish's liver and that kind of stuff, which you should feed this food, by the way. I know I was talking about extreme earlier, but I like lots of foods. This is one of my staples that I'm always using. Like, I don't feed it every day, but a few times a week at least. I really like this food. I know not everyone's had the luck that I've had, but I've got access to everything, and I can get almost like extreme foods I can get for free if I ask for them. I actually pay for this one. Like, honestly, it's just a good food. Like, if you haven't tried Vibrabites, I recommend it. So, yeah, let me put my nerd glasses to the side there. You know. Oh yes, I'm Corey. I know it's like a superhero. It went Clark Kent on you, but I was actually Corey there. You wouldn't know it. Just want to clear that up for you. I bought a copper test kit from Aquariumcoop after losing a bunch of shrimp. And guess how many coppers were in my tank? 0. I know. Plants will consume it. That's the thing, is a lot of people will be worrying about this. You don't realize, like, plants are just like, give it all. Let's eat it all day long. Like, they scrub water clean for the most part. I mean, you could have world's most amount of copper, and that's going to be a problem. But in general, they will just scrub it clean. Best filter. I always explain it to people like salt. You and I need salt for cellular division, and we can't drink salt water, though we dehydrate and die. Yes. It's hard, it's hard to change the internet of this thing will kill things, but at the same time going, well, but you need some, you need some. Just think of human foods. Like, if you eat any one thing way too much, that's going to be problematic, right? But you need some of that. And it's everything in moderation, and people are just, it's part of the meds. The meds are known, like copper safe probably will kill your shrimp, right? And so that's a problem. And so then the average brain might go, hey, if copper will kill my shrimp and this food has copper, it'll kill my shrimp. But it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And there's not even the next level of nerd that I'm not, the chemist nerd that's going, copper sulfate, it's not even digested correctly by invertebrate, you nerd. Like, I know, I don't know that though. But I know that there's, depending on what type, or, is it chelated? Is it a sulfate? Is it, these other types that I don't know, makes a huge difference on the solubility of water or the way that a organism could even digest it. So, way above my head, way above my pay grade to know that. Does carbon have any effect on liquid fertilizer? Yes. Fertilizers and carbon typically are absorbed. The things that don't do it would be like Purigen, which CChem, get your crap together. You haven't had Purigen in like 6 months. We need it. Well, we don't. I don't use it, but people buy it from us, and it's one of our out-of-stock products. Yeah, carbon will. It doesn't really discern good and bad. It'll absorb it all until it's full. And so it can take out bad things, it can take out good things. Chelated is chelated. I've never actually heard, and this is a true thing, I've never heard anyone say chelated when talking about like fertilizer or anything like that. That just shows Aquarius, we don't know anything, honestly. We just, we know enough to read it and like, okay, I understand how it works, but that's crazy. Because even from like I don't think I've ever heard our fertilizer manufacturer say chelated. I don't know. About 20% of the words in my life I probably mispronounce. You just got to say it with enthusiasm, like you know what you're saying. That's how you start a new rumor. What should I order next from Aquariumcoop? I'd be better at my job if I had like a great plug. I should look at your order history. I should do that sometime, if like look up your order history and be like, you need to order I mean, if you don't have the products we're talking about today, like Easy Green, Test Strips, Vibrobites, I really like Extreme Krill Flake and Nano Food. I like our Aquariumcoop towels quite a bit. I use them every day. I'm trying to think of the things I use like every day that I sell. I use the sponge filters every day, air pumps, lots of foods. I like to have a variety of foods. I have a lot of tanks though, so I can buy a lot of foods and I end up going through them. As if you probably watch my video, you know, I kind of mix them together, and yeah, that's also a great thing, by the way. If you don't have that kind of jar of food yet, I recommend you start one, and maybe you're using like the last little bits of like a flake food where it's like a real fine one. That's where my whole process actually started. It was like, what am I going to do with this? Like, this is great for babies. And so then I started doing that, but then I was like, wait, I could add in my fry food, and I could add in Cyclopes, you know, freeze-dried Cyclopes, and then I was like, ooh, I can add in golden pearls, and I can add in freeze-dried Daphnia, and I can add in, so I had this like fine powdery mix, and it worked really well when I had babies. And you could even mix in like some powdered form of Repashy and that kind of stuff, and figure out what kind of mix is going to work really well for you. And then you could, you know, you could aquarium co-op yourself and go, wait a second, what if I put this in a squeeze bottle and that, and you know, figure out a mix that's going to work for you. And I mostly did that when I wasn't hatching out brine shrimp every day, which I've got a new like fish room resolution. I was at a campfire with Bob and Jimmy last night. I think Jimmy had already left, and a friend. I think it was just down to Bob and I, and I told myself, I think I know what's missing from Fish YouTube, and I hope everyone takes this this advice, and you guys too. I think what's missing is all the fish YouTubers. No one's spending time in their fish rooms. Like you see it, you'll physically see it. We'll do a video there, and you guys will see that and you'll like it. By the way, hit that like button. I do need to ask for that a little more, because the more you guys hit the like button while I'm live, the more notifications will go out to people. And it'll, like, if we get enough likes, it'll put it on like the live trending page, right? So it's like 1,200 of you watching and only 400 likes. So if you like it, like it. If you don't like it, dislike it. Either way. But I believe that basically, maybe as a hobbyist, if you're new to the hobby, you're probably still in it, but maybe you've been into it for a while, and as a creator, I think the difference that I'm going to do with my channel, and I already ordered some supplies to do this, but my dedication is I'm going to spend an hour in my fish room every day, no matter what. And so that might mean it takes me 10 minutes to feed, and I got 50 minutes. I need to be planting plants. I need to be moving fish. I need to be looking at babies. I need to be filming a little short video, member video, doing all of that kind of stuff. Because right now, the way it works for me is you go in there, you feed real quick, and then you're out, and I got to do business stuff all day. And then the next day, maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours. But then nothing for like, you know, feed a little bit, but nothing for like 3 days. And then it might be billed with Dean, 8 hours, 10 hours worth, but it's not time with fish. And so I actually bought a timer to put in there that I'm just going to set to an hour every single day, and I'm going to make time. I'm going to figure out what the right time zone is, because the only thing I could figure out what I thought was the difference between a great fish keeper or fish entity that I admired and myself, or most of the fish people out there, was time. Any hobbyist that spends a lot of time with their aquariums every single day, you see it and you like it, and they know more about it. And then the people that don't, yeah, you can make content, you can do those things, and you might have a great fish room and all of that, but you're not spending the time there, and it's not at the level it could be, right? And so maybe my fish career is here, and if I spend an hour every day, it's going to be up here, right? Whereas if I don't, it's gonna my lower level is gonna keep sinking down, and that might be cleaning algae and just trying a new food and trying new gadgets, and I do that kind of stuff, but you know, I think honestly, if we're honest with ourselves, most of us as hobbyists aren't spending 30 hours a month in our fish room. Like, and there's a difference. Like if I sit on the couch, that's not spending time in the fish room. That's watching some fish, right? But I'm talking like hands in the water, moving substrate, cleaning sponges, replanting, maybe even ordering fish on Aquabid or whatever, and finding and just continually improving. I don't think many of us spend 30 hours a month, every month, month after month after month after month. And being that, the revelation for me when I was talking to Bob is that this is our job, right? Like I've got a lot of jobs, but maybe for Bob, like he's a YouTuber and this is your job. And if you're not spending at least an hour every day or 7 hours a week in there, like working with the things, then you're not really doing the job. I realize there's lots of hours that go into editing and other stuff, but I think as a YouTuber, we get into this mode of like, worked on fish all day today. Like, no, I filmed, I fed my fish, we edited it, we made thumbnails, we made titles, all that. But everything except for feeding, all of that other stuff is not spending time in the fish room. That's making videos, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing. So when I look at someone like Dean, how does Dean magically like find all the time and his stuff's always looking good? He spends 3 hours a day. That's 3x what I'm going to do, right? But he spends, and and it's like clockwork. He'll leave my house. Like we were working, and he decided to start leaving my house at 7 o'clock every time we would work together because he wanted to make sure he would get home in time to feed discus babies, live baby brine, every single time. And so he'll put everything else off in life to make sure that his fish room doesn't miss clockwork. And so that's the kind of dedication I want to put forward. And you guys will probably see it in my videos, and I'll probably start talking about it more because I do think in general, when you're new to the hobby, man, I might spend 10 hours a day in there, right? You spend all the time. You got a new fascinating fish, but then as things go on, I've worked it out. I can auto water change, I could auto feed, I could do these things. But we're not replacing the time. And I think replacing the time with getting your hands in the water is going to lead to some new discoveries, better videos, more enthusiasm, probably just more videos too. So that's what I think is missing right now from the YouTube game is actual time, hands being wet. I want live brine shrimp, but I don't want to have a huge setup. Is there a way to do this on a small scale? Yeah, any container. You could hatch, technically you could hatch brine shrimp in this bottle right here. The basic key steps for brine shrimp is salty water, brine shrimp eggs. That's it. I was going to say you needed air, but if you're doing a small enough setup, you don't even need air. So you just need salt, salty water, and eggs. Now, you could make that be a thimble. You could make it be this big. You can make it be as big as this room. Somewhere in there, as long as you're keeping the ratios right. It's a tablespoon of marine salt is what I use per 1 liter. But you could do this is 500 milliliters, right? So you could do half a tablespoon in this and hatch out some brine. You could do a quarter of this and do a quarter of a tablespoon, right? So you can make it as much or as little as you want. You could also hatch out a bunch and do like Greg Sage does, where he hatches out a bunch, feeds what he needs for the day, and then freezes the rest. And now he's got cubes of live baby brine that he might have made that week. So it's still fresher than something else. So, yeah, the keeping your hands wet every day, that's actually just an evolution of the old saying that the guy that helped me build my store. And his big thing, and I've talked about that before, is just touch the nature every day. Same thing, keep your hands wet in the tank. And it's the most important thing. It often trumps knowledge. Like, you can be very uneducated, but if you work with something every single day, that's how you get people that'll be in industries that maybe they can't read or write, but they're the best at that. Like, that guy can build a house better than anyone. Can't read or write because he's got the repetition and he's done it so many times, right? And I think that's just going to be the next level for me, is get back to keeping my hands wet, touching it every day, getting in there, putting in those the 10,000 hours, right? And that's the kind of, I think the problem is I put in the 10,000 hours and you get all this knowledge and then you feel like, I don't need to go do that. I don't need to go learn. But I think that's the spontaneous element of that, I think, is what's missing from my content currently. And everyone's content, by the way. I don't see, I was trying to think of anyone's content that I think might be putting in the time. I can think of one more now. It was Serpa Design. And I was trying to think if I could think of any YouTuber where I really thought they were putting in the time in the fish room. There was a couple others. I can't think of them right now, though. hatch at 75 degrees room temp and no light, yeah, you can get down to pretty cool water. Like another example, outside at my house that I still need to move, that 100-gallon tote got full of live baby brine right now. It's getting pretty cold at night. It gets warm during the day. When it warms up, back and forth, and there's no air in there, and there's just no maintenance at all. And you can just go net brine shrimp out. There's a million ways to do it, but the two most basic core things: salty water and brine shrimp eggs. Everything after that, you can make it more complicated. You can make it bigger. You can make it different. You can change the salinity. You can make it hotter. You can make it colder. You can add a light. You can take away a light. You can hatch them this way. You can hatch them that way. All of that comes down to personal preference and what makes it easy on your life. Someone asked me the other day, can I just buy a sea monkeys kit and hatch out brine shrimp for my bed? Sure. It would be very overpriced in my opinion, and it might be a pain long term to keep it clean and get good hatches out of it. But yes, anything that'll hold water, as long as it's salty and you got some eggs, technically will work. So that's my advice. But it really is fun. I kind of recommend everyone have some brine shrimp around. Maybe you only do it once a month or whatever. It's a great treat. It's kind of fun to do. It's fun to show nieces and nephews and neighborhood kids and all of that. And I just think it's really useful if you do find some babies. It's a great treat and good food for a lot of your adult fish as well. So buy some brine shrimp eggs. Someone was asking what they buy. Buy brine shrimp eggs. Stefan uses an Inkbird heater controller, 85 degrees, 1 tablespoon of brine shrimp, ready in about 15 to 18 hours, and consumed by fish in just under 5 minutes. Yeah, you can definitely, the more you get, yes, MD Fish Tanks was another person that I do consider as putting at least an hour in every single day. I brought that one up last night when I was thinking, I was like, who do I think, because he's able to make a lot of videos, and to make a lot of videos, you gotta spend a lot of time in there. So I think that's, and I know there's other people. I don't want to be like, of course, calling out everybody. But of like the people that I might glance at a video or something like that, and it's, it was literally after midnight around a campfire. It's not like I spent I spent a week, I wrote down all the names of who I think's doing the work. Wasn't that at all. But I was just trying to think of who do I think's actually really spending time in that fish room. And I was calling myself out. That's the main important thing. I was calling myself out of going, hey, I'm not spending the time like I should be spending that time. And if I do start spending that time, I'm going to, for every hour put in, the results are going to be huge. And so I'm just making that commitment to myself. Do I have any tips on Wait, I read that one. Oh, wait, maybe not. Hatching small amounts of brine shrimp. I got 3 tanks. I used to use the Instant Ocean baby brine shrimp, but it's out of stock for ages. Tell me about it. They need to get their act together. I have the Aquariumcoop eggs, but no hatcher. You could, as easy as this, you could take some marine salt, or you could even do aquarium salt. That's fine too, but I like marine salt because it buffers the water and does all these great things. Get your water salty enough. So if it's a tablespoon per liter, you could take like this thing, right? Go like, for lack of a better way to do this, I went the most like simplistic way I can do in a live stream. Go buy yourself like a 1 liter of soda, right? And we're gonna pretend this is a 1 liter of soda because I don't have 1 liter of soda. But then you've got the neck of the bottle that comes up that you would drink out of, right? Just cut it like right at the shoulder level, so where from the fattest part it starts tapering down. Just cut it there. And maybe use a razor blade or get your scissors into it, cut around it, right? Now you've got roughly probably 800 milliliters, doesn't matter. Put a tablespoon of salt in there and mix it up. Mix. When water is like kind of cloudy, but the salt is mixed in, then take like a little bit of eggs and put it on the top. Now walk away. Come back in a day, see if you got anything. Don't have anything yet? Wait another day. You probably have something. Then you can start playing with like, well, if they're a little bit warmer, they'd hatch faster. Maybe you put them on top of your fridge, your TV, something that's going to create some warmth. Maybe it's on the top of, your computer. Like I've got a computer down here. Like don't knock it over. That's going to be a terrible idea. But, if you get a little bit of warmth going to it, or maybe set it in the windowsill, it's going to get cold at night, but real hot during the day. You might get some green water going. But it can be that simple. Just take a mug, just take anything that holds water, make it salty, put in some eggs, and now you'll have the brine shrimp. If it's a clear container, you can at least then, you can harvest them. They're attracted to light, so that's helpful. A flashlight or whatever you're going to use, right? And you can siphon them out with like a piece of airline tubing. You just kind of, okay, let me put it in there, suck on the end of it. All right, I siphon that into another cup. Now then you could go through cleaning it with like a net and all that. I don't do any of that. I just take that little bit I harvested that's nice orange brine shrimp and I go pour it in my aquarium. Because we talked about earlier in the show, like maybe your plants want a little bit of marine salt with all those trace elements and everything. Like I personally view that as a beneficial thing to do, and that's why I don't strain my brine shrimp. Dean is opposite than I am. That's fine. Everyone can do it their own way. But he doesn't run nearly as many plants as I do. I put more stock in plants maybe than he does. He definitely makes more fish than I do. He spends more time than I do too. But whatever way is going to work easiest for you. If you want to strain them, by all means, strain them. Make it, as quick or as long as a process as you would like. Do I recommend washing your hands before cleaning a fish tank? I can go back and forth on that one. I personally don't. I try not to get things on my hands that could contaminate my aquariums. And then I'm also a little worried about if I don't get all the soap off, is that a problem? I've never had a problem though. So, when you work at the store, like you go to the bathroom, you gotta wash your hands. Like you try to make sure you rinse it all off, but I'm sure there's been times that soap has not gotten rinsed off, gotten in the tanks, and we've never had like, why'd that whole aquarium die? So I think, if you're worried about it, wash your hands. You should definitely wash them after you're done. But going into it, I think that's a personal decision. You can make that choice. If you read this, hit the like button. I agree. We have 666 likes. It's not optimal. Not optimal at all. The wrong number to have. How many scarlet batis for a 40-gallon community tank do I need for a school? Typically, that fish doesn't school. They're actually pretty territorial, so they'll harass each other a little bit. You could do any number from 1 to a lot. I think you'll probably get your enjoyment out of like 4 to 6 of them. They'll take up little caves and stuff like that in that tank. But since they're not going to like school around in a big school, I don't think like I've got 4 or I have 14. You're just going to be like, yeah, I got the same thing 14 times versus 4. So just jumped on. Sorry if you answered this. How detrimental is it when small fish die in a tank while you're away for a week? Either that or my pygmy cories are hiding really well. So I think in a well-established aquarium with live plants and it's seasoned, you got the seasoned tank time, it's well-established, right? I think personally it's not that big of a deal. The ammonia that will be released will be consumed by plants and the bacteria there pretty quickly. Your filters, all of that. In a newer tank, it can get overwhelmed. Now, if we're talking about 1 cardinal tetra or 1 pygmy cory died, no problem. 5 die, 8 die. Now you could start overwhelming some of the system, especially, I think it's a double-edged sword of if you don't notice, right? So you had 4 things die, you're throwing in the same amount of food, now it's not all being eaten, so you have 4 rotting bodies and some rotting food. The next day you throw in the same amount of food, now you've got 4 rotting bodies, some rotting food from yesterday and some rotting food from today. It just keeps going up until it will become a critical problem and everything gets sick. But in a vacation scenario, like you're saying, you had a Corydora die. Maybe it died on day 2 while you were gone. The tank consumed it. The bristlenose ate most of the body. Any of the ammonia got eaten up by plants. You come back, it's just gone. Probably will make no difference to your aquarium at all, other than where's my little buddy, right? I don't worry about that. Now, I don't often willingly leave a body in there. Like I wouldn't be like, not gonna grab it, but I'm not gonna rip my tank apart to search for it either. Welcome, new members. We got 14 new members so far today. We got roughly 45 minutes left. Let's do it. More members, more often. Working on a lot of things. Waiting on YouTube is, of course, always waiting on YouTube. I wish extreme foods were available in the UK. I believe they are available in the UK, or I think the backstory, and I don't know 100%, and I'm sure Extreme will set me straight after, in like a day or two with what's actually going on. But I believe there was like a wholesaler that was working with Extreme. Then like something happened where they just weren't bringing it in or selling it or something like that. And now they're trying to work with a new one, and it should be getting back to stores. I know in theory, I'll be going to the UK in October to kind of help with that. We're hoping that if I show up and I talk to the stores, I'm like, look, we sell it really well. I really do like this food. I'll be helping promote it in that, I like to use it. It shouldn't be that hard for you to sell in your store versus another food that's not getting promotion. You should try it. You should use it. Like, try it out. You'll like it. Is it a more expensive food? Yes. Will the UK market consume it? I don't know. I'm not in the UK market, but here we are having people from the UK ask for it. So that would be like, at least some people will. So I think it's a lot about getting people to, try things. And I know I think there was problems with them getting it. Like they brought it in and they couldn't get it. That's never good for customers. And so trying to build a better working relationship between all the parties involved. And, I basically can reassure them like, look, I like the food. And when I like something, I talk about it. And so if I reach a decent amount of people, some of them will live in the UK and they'll probably want to buy some too. You may as well cash in on that. That'll help your local store. And when they come in to buy the Extreme, they'll probably buy some of your fish. Now they'll come back. It'll be great for you. Maybe that's the next thing you just needed. All right. Hi, this is the other Irene using my daughter's YouTube. First live stream, definitely an earn. Well, welcome, Irene, the other Irene. Yes. I've got a heavily planted snail breeder tank, and I've got a pair of mystery snails that have recently been dropping an impressive clutch each week, sometimes twice a week. When should I separate to avoid overbreeding? I don't know if snails can actually overbreed. You can overwhelm yourself. That could happen. Most people just stop harvesting clutches or change the environment so they don't really thrive. But yeah, some people can't not let nature take its course, so you might be forced to do it. But I just leave it. Yeah. I just bought my first house, and I'm a bit afraid of setting up my rack of 10-gallon tanks due to mold. How concerned should I be if I set it up in the basement and I have a dehumidifier down there? Well, on average, basements can be a little damp anyway, so a dehumidifier is going to help you regardless. So that's good. I'm never afraid of the mold, and what I mean by that is I always address it. Like, I know if I have a bunch of aquariums, I could have moisture. Things you could do, have each one have a tight top, and you'll have very little evaporation. That'll help. One of the best things you can do, well, I'll grab it real quick. So one of the best things you could have is a little, like this, a thermometer and hydrometer. Is it hydrometer? I think so. My brain's not working. But so my max that I've ever gotten up to is 61% of humidity, and the lowest has ever been 33%. And right now, well, I just went up by 1% being in here in my hand, 2% apparently, 3%, which is weird because there's less moisture here than over there. It must be my hand is skewing this, but it was at 57% roughly. And I actually like to be more around 45%. There's a lot of open top tanks in there, and I've got quite a bit of dehumidifier and air exchange going on. I'm still working on, like, I'm not going to instantly install more stuff yet. I want to see, one, I don't have another thing to calibrate this to, so this could be inaccurate. So that's on my to-do list of spend an hour in there every day. Oh yeah, I need to get a second quantifying source of how much humidity is actually going on in here, and but manage it that way. If you can keep it low, and you can set dehumidifiers, right? You could set it like, hey, only kick on if the humidity is above 50% or 45%, or you can make them run continuously. So I don't fear it, knowing that watch out for it, monitor it, and prevent it. The worst thing that could happen is you've got crazy amounts of humidity, you got to tear them back down. But usually you go, oh, I'll make this tweak or I'll do that, and it's not a problem anymore. And I adhere to that school of like, oh, I'll get through it. What's the black cloth you put on Zenzo's fish room? I bet that helps with mold. It's not an anti-mold thing. It's a sound deadening thing. So that little bit of echo you hear in here, it would deaden that. It does help with insulation, which is nice. But I don't think it's got any properties that would actually help prevent mold. And in fact, if it got really wet, like if you spilled a bunch of water on it, it could encourage mold, which wouldn't be great. But I don't think it does anything special to prevent it. Welcome back, William, to the NERM squad. How efficient is pothos at removing nitrates? Should I be concerned if my fish or shrimp start to nibble on it? I haven't had any problem with fish getting sick from nibbling on it. I've heard some reports, like definitely for cats and stuff, but I haven't run into those problems. I don't know how efficient. Part of the problem is I don't have a way to test to like, here's a tank with 800 grams of massive anubias versus 800 grams of pothos. I dose this much in, it consumes it this fast. What I do know is, in general, the larger a plant is, the faster it consumes. I've had it in my store where it wrapped all the way around my store, and it would suck the tank dry. That being said, what is it like when it's 6 inches, 12 inches, 2 feet? I don't know all those metrics. So I just, again, with everything, play with it and see like, oh man, I'm just easy green, glug, 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 because it's eating way too much. Maybe I got to cut that thing back. Or maybe, oh no, my cichlid tank, like it's way too much. I do know that if plants are eating all the roots, it does not suck out the nutrients nearly as fast. So we learned that with goldfish. That's actually what killed our one that wrapped all the way around the store, is we had goldfish in there and they nibbled down all the roots and then eventually started dying off. So we'd have to start over, and we just haven't. So, but it works. JR with a $10 sticker. Well, thanks, JR. I appreciate that. Favorite floating plant? We talked a little bit about that earlier. I really like floating broadleaf water sprite and water lettuce. For plants that like go up out of the water, I really like willow hygro. I know you guys didn't ask that, but I really like that plant. One of my favorite fish room plants. Hygrometer is humidity. Hydrometer is density of liquid. Yeah. See, I get live stream brain, because you saw me pause like hydrometer, and I was thinking, no, I use that for saltwater salinity, but I could not think of hygrometer. Hygrometer sounded weird. Hydrometer versus hygrometer. When you get words that are like that close in this, yeah, and you know everyone's gonna call you out like, it's not leer tail, it's lyre tail. It's not chelated, it's chelated. It's too hard. How's Dean doing? I think he's doing pretty good. Without talking about his personal life, he's been getting things in order, you know. I don't like to give away things in people's personal lives, because what if they don't want that out there? So he's got normal life stuff to do. Instead of being an ultra fish nerd, he's got to do some normal life stuff. And so he's been working on that. But I'll probably be back here soon, I hope. We got a giant green screen to hang. We got a 1.5 inch spotted Congo puffer that always begs for bloodworms when I come to the tank, but won't really take any snails yet. How do I get him interested in the bladder snail? Stop feeding him. You're in this big, like, my puppy keeps whining because he's hungry, but he won't eat my food. But when I rattle the treat bag, he eats. Like, he just knows how to play you. If you keep snails in that tank and then you don't feed, eventually that thing's going to be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to eat those. Now, 99 times out of 100, that works. But 1 out of 100 times, maybe they won't actually eat after like 2 weeks. And then it's going to die, you know, because it doesn't eat for 3 or 4 weeks. And then you're going to say, Corey, you're the worst person on the planet. But the opposite is, I got to feed my guy bloodworms forever because I never gave him the tough love to get him onto these snails. So you got to run in between there. And, you know, maybe you start out with, you don't feed him for 3 days. Is he eating snails yet? All right, here's some bloodworms. And then you don't feed him for 4 days. All right, he didn't eat any. Here's some bloodworms. Then you go 5 days. And eventually he's going to be like, I'm hungry. Chomp, 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 chomp. And then you go, okay, now you're getting it. Here's some more snails. And now you can start alternating and rotating and doing those things. If you're sitting in here and you're not on a TV, hit that like button. It doesn't take that long. You just got to grab and go boop or boop. Real easy. Sends the YouTube gods a little thing that says oh man, Katie sent me a thing 52 minutes ago. Sassy update. Apparently she ate a heck of a lot of a kosher hot dog. Now she's got the meat sweats. We've been having a hard time. She can smell out the pill she has to take from like a mile away. And so we keep, like, if you feed her the same thing in a row, she knows from yesterday, like, you put the medicine in the egg last time. Oh, you put it in the tater tot last time. You did this. So we have to keep getting new foods to trick her. She's like she probably hasn't had hot dog in 2 or 3 years. And now it's like, what is this? Oh, this hot dog is delicious. Oh, there's meds in here. How dare you? So we have to keep tricking her every day to take her meds because she's had like a respiratory infection. It's getting way better now that we're tricking her to get the meds. But she's one of those dogs that would rather die than swallow a pill. And I get it. Hide it in a treat. Put it in cheese. Trust me, we're those weirdos that at this point it's a kosher hot dog for the dog to get the meds into it. Like, we're so far past here's the 17,000 tricks Google says and friends say. She's just really good at knowing she hates that med. It must taste terrible because she's just not that bad. Try liverwurst for hiding her meds. I don't think we've tried that one yet, but maybe we will. Pink flamingo plants looking great on your site. How L or S a tank are they best for? How L or S? Let me try. I'm trying to digest that. Low or S a tank? L or S a tank? I don't know what that means. You have to clarify. Second question. If you have time, what questions do you dislike to be asked by the NERMs in person? Mostly it's all questions about people's aquariums that I don't like. And what I mean by it is, one, so like, let's say you're just like, hey, my fish is doing a thing, what's wrong? In person, most times at events, there might be 200 people in line. And I have to go, well, all right, well, what's your pH? What's your hardness? How long's your light on? What else going on? What are you feeding? What are you doing this? It takes like 7 minutes to get to the point of like, oh, yeah, this is the problem, right? And it stalls the line. Or you get to the point of like, what's your pH? Well, I don't know. Last time I tested, well, it's been a while. It's been a while. It was good. And I'm like, well, if it's been a while, you got to go test. And then we don't actually get to the answers to the problem. It's like, well, I hate when the answer is like, yeah, you should just do what you should be doing anyway, like water changing, testing water, basics. Oh, yeah, it's good. I should do that. So those are the ones I'm like, dang it. I like it when it's something that I can get to like the answer in a timely manner, and it's a meaningful conversation and all that, and not leave with like, well, I came with a mystery and I left with a mystery. Like, that's not fun for anybody. All right, scrolling down to see what LNS is. Large and small. Okay, large or small aquariums. All right. Okay, so what's tank size? Really, the pink flamingo crypts never get about more than that tall, and they usually spread out a bit. So I would say anything from like a 2-gallon to unlimited big. It just changes where you put them in the aquarium. 2-gallon might be a background plant, right? 800-gallon, definitely foreground plant. And so you would just change where in the aquarium is going to go, knowing it's roughly a 6-inch plant. I've seen it grow this big, like in Dean's aquarium. You'll probably see next week. It's overhung by a lot of plants, and so it has to grow up to get light. Where if it's getting a lot of light, it just folds out and goes, look, I'm big and I'm beautiful. I think testing your water parameters on a regular basis, whether you're in freshwater or saltwater, is important. Definitely. It is. Like, I don't know how to, I think there's a lot of people that like take pride in like, I don't even test my water, bro. So good. Never have aquarium problems. Great. That's the same thing everyone says. Like, I don't go to the doctor. Never been to the doctor. And then you like die from something. It's like, yeah, should have went to the doctor. Could have Doctor says could have caught that 15 years ago. Good. You lived, being like, I'm the smartest person in the room for your whole life until you weren't. And that's kind of the same thing. Like, I know a lot about aquariums. I deal with a lot of it, but I literally I had to go get it in the fish room. I literally used these yesterday. I don't use them every day, but I probably use them once to twice a week, every week in my personal fish room. In the stores every day. And not even just for customers. There's so many fish and new fish coming in, things going on. You want to be double checking on stuff every single day, right? And I honestly think that's why we made 200 strips, right? I've seen people cutting these in half. Hey, you can save money all you want. I didn't think people were going to need to cut them in half because 400 at 200, right? I think most people are going to struggle to use them up before they expire, right? But that being said, if you're like, I also don't, like, if I have 55 totes over there, I don't spend a day going, I'm going to test every tote. I don't think you get meaningful results out of that. I try to narrow it in of like, okay, I want to examine these things. I want to gain some meaningful insights because I can't test 55 totes and then go, well, now I remember what pH is in each one. Even if I wrote them down, I think you get lost in the work instead of extrapolating the actual knowledge you needed to know to make sure that fish thrive or not. And so I typically focus on different areas, and I might go, well, what are these mollies doing compared to these mollies? These ones look like they're doing better than these ones. Instead of, what are all my tanks water? It's like, well, these guys and these guys are very similar fish. Why is this one thriving? Why is this one not? Do I see anything different when I compare the two? No. All right, move on. So, but I do really think testing the water, and you can use test kits, but, I think I used 6 strips yesterday. Probably tested 6 different tanks, and I just know I wouldn't have tested all those parameters 6 different times with a liquid kit because that would take way too long. So I like to get fast results, and a lot of times what I do is I just dip, and I set them all on the tanks, and then I kind of compare them with the chart. Like I get to a point where I memorize the chart. After I've been using it for a while, I just memorize it, and it makes it really easy. So that's what I do, but when you're new to it, you might not know which one's which. That's why when I'm memorizing, the chlorine throws me off for pH. Like, what? Oh, wait, that's not the pH one. Do any of the plants you sell at the coop do well in outdoor ponds? Almost all of them can do well. Now, depending on what fish you have. If you got koi, they might eat a bunch, but like I've put basically every aquarium plant we have outside of my little ponds with aquarium fish, and they do well. For the most part, ponds are just bigger aquariums. Typically, they get more sunlight, and as long as you fertilize them, should do well. How do I store my co-op brine shrimp before opening? Do they need to be frozen or refrigerated? Technically, they don't have to be refrigerated or frozen. You get marginal gains by doing that. So maybe you get like 98% freshness without doing it. You get 2% more freshness if you do freeze them. The biggest difference is once you open the bag, then oxygen gets in and some humidity can get in, and then you can start having some problems. If you just open your bag up every day and you leave them at room temperature, you could get some that are like trying to hatch in extreme situations. But outside of that, I mean, brine shrimp eggs, honestly, like, think about this. I had a pond outside, had brine shrimp going. The brine shrimp start to die. They lay eggs. They stayed wet the whole time. They froze over the winter. And then when it warmed up, they came back. That's what they do in nature. So if they can do all of that, living in a temperature controlled like home is paradise for these things. So yes, might you miss out on 2% of your eggs or something if you, I left it in my garage under a skylight and it hit 4 billion degrees because there was like a magnifying glass on it. Sure, that could be a problem. But in wild, right, they're sitting on the shores, sun's beating down on them, but it didn't have the magnifying glass. Maybe they weren't sitting in a tin can or a steel can that made them extra hot. Barring the crazy extremes, those things are great. They're bulletproof. So I wouldn't even worry about it. If I have, like, part of it is just keeping it from not knocking over and, having somewhere to store it. So that's why I keep it in a fridge. Like, I've got a fridge in my fish room, but if I don't, I just let it sit next to the brine shrimp. And half the time I do that anyway. I'm like, I'm lazy, whatever. Test strips in South Africa are super expensive. If you had to test like that, it will literally bank you. Ooh, maybe someday we'll be able to ship out to South Africa. I definitely would be cutting strips in half for that one. And yes, that's a very good point. If I was limited by money somehow, in that it was crazy expensive, the liquid test kits, if you're testing a lot, you get 2 years of tests, like almost unlimited tests. Rarely do you meet someone like, I used up the whole bottle in 2 years. Like, really? That's an insane amount of tests. So you do get a crazy amount of value. It's the time. And that, for me, it's always like a time versus money thing. And I suppose depending on where you are in the world is how much, time becomes worth money, And like if I was in a country where aquarium goods, like I think we had a fan in here was like from Saudi Arabia, and aquarium stuff was hard to get there, like tanks and stuff. All of a sudden, time is worth less than the items, because the items are so hard to get. And that's, David's situation too. Like the testers are so hard to get, they're gonna be very expensive. And so your time might level out of like, hey, a liquid test kit actually makes a lot of sense. I wonder if you can get the like the Sarah test kits. What do you need to raise brine shrimp to adult? I've got a whole, well, let me plug my forum, if you will. I do love plugging my own stuff. Let me find it. Oh, wait, I gotta do brine shrimp pond. See if I can find it right here. Boom. So here you go. This is my pond that I raised outside. Now you can do it inside, but I find it to be easier to do outside. So I took this on the forum, by the way, forum.aquariumcoop.com. I took a tote that was used for breeding fish. Still had the duckweed, everything in it. I didn't take any of that out because I wanted it to be fertilizer for green water, right? So then over here, I got a bunch of green water. I took some of that and I brought it over there. Oh, maybe I did take some of the duckweed out. No, this is update pictures. So now you can see the salts in there because it's made this foam. And then it got really bad. All that gunk and stuff got really bad once all that duckweed and everything died, right? So the chemical reaction of the salt made a bunch of the muck float. See if it settles over time. Gross. But to me, this is nature. This is, a pond's not gonna be sterile. The brine shrimp and stuff's going on. So then I was hatching out brine shrimp, right? This actual brine shrimp going into my totes in the fish room, right? And then I had this bit left. So maybe it's some unhatched eggs or whatever, or I intentionally was saving some. So like I hatch out at 24 hours, even though I know 36 will get more of a hatch out rate. But for me, it doesn't matter when I take these and I dump them into this pond. So now you can see a bunch of that muck settled, but all the pine needles that would fall in are sitting on top. Still gross mess, right? Now it's July 14th and you keep going down because it started on July 11th. And then you get to here, which is the brine shrimp pond update. So from the 11th to the 24th. So now it's been, 13 days? And this was like a little member, I don't know if it was a member only update. It was just like a little thing I did. And you can see, right here, you see the brine shrimp swimming around. These had hatched out and are becoming adults. And so the eggs, even though they've hatched out, they still float on the top for like ever because the old eggshells do that. So they're going to be there, and they'll get caught out with nets that go into feed and do all that. See if I get any better clips. But yeah, you can still see all the pine needles, and the pine needles kept coming out with the net. And you can see all that algae. That was a bunch of algae started growing. And you can see to the bottom now, though, because it started clearing up. And that was all at the 2-week mark, essentially. And so I talk about all that. And you can see more and more updates. This is 3 days later. So you can see a lot more brine shrimp. Just 3 days later, a lot more juvenile brine shrimp going on. And I was putting a little bit of like fry food in there, but mostly I wanted green water and the algae and that kind of stuff and the decomposing matter. And you can see on the sides, I've got the salt and the eggs, because as it evaporates, the eggs go to the sides. So that's just like nature, kind of. And then it was 2 weeks after that, right? So from July 27th to now August 9th of last year. And this is what the pond looked like. So we went underwater to show you guys. And you can see all the algae on the side. You can see all these adult brine shrimp. And the cool thing about brine shrimp is when they're happy, they actually they're a live bear. They give birth to more live brine shrimp. So exponentially, they keep making more. You can just net them out. You feed them. And you can see all the babies at the top. That's all the smaller larvae. You can see some of the eggs even that they, you know, if that wasn't happy. But you can actually see them lock up and mate as well. So you can see, you know, this guy's doing it too. Andy's Fish Den. Let's see if I had any more updates. Yeah, here's where I'm feeding some of the adults. You see this weird algae layer I've got going, that foamy algae at the top. And so yeah, you can see all the brine shrimp I've basically harvested there. Let's see if I can get this. I don't know why it's autoing 360p. Let's get it to a better resolution for you guys. So, and then we'll go put them into an aquarium, old fish room. So you can see, there they are. Like, obviously, when we're working on a small screen, you'd be watching a little better, but you can see the Juraparis, and you can see the teacup platies and all the brine shrimp swimming around. And that's just a fun experiment. Like, I have those brine shrimp right now. They're still in that pond. They came back over winter after freezing and all of that. Brine shrimp are super hardy. And I just let nature do it. Now, if you want to do a mass scale, you need lots of green water and all this kind of crazy stuff that is more work than I'm willing to do. But on an easy scale like this, I thought it was really beneficial. So I don't know if I have too many more updates after that. Let's see here. That must have been the last one I posted, but you can always come on here and ask questions and do that kind of stuff. And this is why this forum was good, because it allowed me to answer questions, but then also it was a project that took months, right? And filming it is hard to do when you're like, okay, I need to document all the steps, put it together, make people watch it. You know, like this person's asking if mosquitoes are not an issue in your area, or do they not grow in salty water? Like, yeah, the mosquitoes die in salty water, so you don't have to worry about mosquitoes, and so you can put your significant other at rest. It's just a cool, cool experiment. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. It's funny you mentioned the auto quality setting to 360. I think they defaulted to that now on YouTube. They're trying to save bandwidth. Yeah. Definitely on mobile phones. Like, I think they're just trying to save money. Best small plant for the easy planter. Also, will grow a little overhang off a table. Hold on. Off a table on an Aquarium tank be okay? I see. Multiple questions here. A 1/10 of an inch total overhanging the side, you're probably fine, especially on a smaller tank. Small plants to go in the easy planters. I mean, it depends on how small. I really like crypts. You guys should just be buying all the crypts. Crypts are amazing. They're, I don't know. They're probably my favorite plant. One of my favorite plants. They're really nice. You could obviously do really small crypts, but I would just get yourself like a Crypt One Deadeye Red or something, or a green, and just let it be looking awesome. It'll get tall if you don't have enough light, but if you don't have enough light, a lot of these short plants won't stay short anyway. And that's what I like about crypts. Like, no matter what light you have or what's going on, it's going to look good, and it's going to grow for you. So it's real versatile. How is the Easy Planter selling? Is it doing well? Yeah, it's doing well. I wonder if I could pull up that stat. Let me see if I can pull up a stat to see. It won't be on camera, so you can call me a liar if you'd like. That's fine too. But Easy Planter. Let's see how many Easy Planter we sold in the last 90 days. We have sold, wait for it, it's got to load to churn the data. Here we go. It's still loading. In the last 90 days, we have sold 4,085 units to 1,964 different customers, which equates to $40,637.32 in net sales. So, doing pretty good. Not, you know, it's not like one of our top items or anything like that, but I mean, I use them. I like them. You guys seem to like them too, so that's good. I always like when people like our products that we actually make. You know, it's one thing to sell like, we sold 4 million Vibrobites. I don't really have a hand in that. It's just a good product and I like to use it. When you make something everyone likes, it, like, it feels good. It feels real good when people buy stuff that you make. How would brine shrimp do in a tub outside in the hot Arizona temps? I wager they would do just fine. That being said, I consider it to be a very small investment to try this. Like, At worst, you got to buy a bucket of salt. So that's like $50 probably, depending on how big your tub is. And then you got to buy like $20 in brine shrimp eggs, right? So you're into it for less than $100 for an experiment, which for me personally, that's a good time because I'm going to get probably 3 or 4 days of actual enjoyment out of it. Like there's the day of like ordering the stuff, I get enjoyment out of that. There's the day of setting stuff up, so that's 2 days. There's gonna be at least another day of checking in, and then if something hatches out, that's another 4th day. And if I average that at like $25 a day for enjoyment, for me personally in the Northwest, that'd be very cheap entertainment. So I find that to be totally worth it. But you could always like, you know, find a cheaper, like maybe you could go get salt from, maybe you live by the ocean, go get salt there for free, like the water, lug it back, which again, time versus money. And then, you know, bum some brine shrimp eggs off a buddy. You know, like I just need a little bit. Once I start breeding, I'm good. So yeah. Any closer to announcing the YouTuber that Aquariumcoop is going to collaborate with? Well, we're not collaborating with them. They are an independent contractor and will be working for us. But no, not announcing it. That'll probably be announced when they either fly in here and do a live stream or closer when they start working. They're going to start for us. They're not starting for us until June 1st. We still do some consulting back and forth of like, where do we think we want to take the memberships and what membership levels and how many tiers and what can we do for international members and how is the club going to look and how is this thing we're working on going through. Like I've got other teams working too. Like we've got web developers working on some stuff and we're trying to, you know, mix all that in and, you know, one, hype train you guys. Like you should all become a member because that'd be awesome. And the benefits are going to be good, I think. You know, I'm going to put as much into it as I do our products. And most of our products have been really good, minus the first easy feeder, right? Which even that people still love. I saw a video the other day. I can't remember the YouTube channel's name, but they had one on every aquarium. And I was like, that's so cool. I don't even have one on every aquarium. But I'm going to put a lot into it because I think it's the one other factor I think that can differentiate us on YouTube and the industry, and that is just create like the largest, widest reaching aquarium club for everyone that doesn't have one. I mean, and you can totally like, I've got a local club. Local clubs meet like once a month, right? So if we're meeting once a month online and you're meeting once a month in person, even if you're like in Ohio and you've got 5 clubs, if you're hitting all 5 clubs, you could probably fit the 6th one in. And the good news is you'll be able to watch it after the fact. So if you're in a different time zone, you could still get all the information. We've also been brainstorming ideas of like, how do we get questions from people we know can't make it, right? So maybe it's, you know, maybe there's 20 questions for a speaker and 15 of them are live from the chat and 5 of them are pre-selected from people that submitted questions or whatever, right? So we're looking at how do we incorporate, and we won't get it right. You know, no one ever gets it right the first 20 tries, but knowing that we have someone dedicated, and it's your, you know, you're a consultant, your job here to make this work. They have a vested interest to continue to get paid to make sure the feedback from membership is good, make sure we're improving over time. All of those things are going to be important. Where if it's just me, yeah, I get it. We need to make that better, but this thing over here is on fire, and I don't have time to work on that. Where that's all they got. They got to work on that all the time. That's their job. So I think it's going to be really successful once we do it. Do I have any tips on making the Zis bio bubble filter a little quieter? Turn down the air. So as it gets seeded with bacteria, you should be able to turn the air down more and more and more, and it still do all its tumbling action. At the beginning, lots of air because it doesn't have the neutral buoyancy from the bacteria. But over time, as it keeps getting more and more seeded, you should be able to turn the air down more and more, and it will be less loud. Now, it's always going to be a little bit louder than like a sponge filter because you got clanging stuff in there, but it shouldn't be just like, you know, a tornado. What would your opinion be if a store that is not Aquariumcoop used my products? We already have that. Yeah. Good. You know, the only part I got a little weird is when someone was buying our bulk fertilizer and then pouring it into other bottles and selling it. And The only reason I was a little bit weird because if they were thinning it down, that could make us look bad. Like imagine someone goes to McDonald's, right? And they buy a 20 pack of chicken nuggets. They grind up all those nuggets and then they add, like filler to it. And then they make new nuggets and sell them as McDonald's nuggets. They could then maybe be worse, right? And so that's our only fear that we had. But, if people want to resell our stuff, like there's stuff on eBay, right? There's lots of, well, not lots, but people buy stuff, bring it back to their country and put it on eBay and sell, a sponge filter, $60 or whatever. And so, it's flattering that people want it that much. And on the other hand, I always feel bad of like, man, how do we get it there so they can buy it at a reasonable price? Corey's obsessed with chicken nuggets. Sure. Chicken nuggets are good. It's because I listen to some gaming streamers always talking about chicken nuggets. What are my thoughts on a planted tank or a bowl with no filter or air stone? Yeah, you can do it. The no air stone thing, I think I'm not a fan of that. I just think eventually you're going to fail. Probably not for a couple years or whatever, but I think adding air to a tank, there's so many benefits to the little bit of like downfall, more evaporation, that kind of stuff. I don't want to run any vessel with water that doesn't have air in it. Like even Ladybird's got air. When do I start shipping to the EU? We're slated to start shipping into the EU the year 2045. I have no idea. How many gallons in the new fish room? Well, we got 55 totes that hold 100 gallons. So that's 5,500 right there. And then we have 1240 breeders. So that's 480. So that's like 6K. But then we're going to add the 230 gallon tank. So roughly 6,000 gallons, I would say. For an easy remember. I saw that Zenzo stacked his sponge filters. Is this an effective use or should they be spread out? I think it's better off to move them, but for looks, sometimes it's easier to put them behind decorations and stuff. So, yeah, you can go either way. I like to spread them out because I like the different flow patterns and stuff. But if you're gonna hook them up with like a power head and that kind of stuff, then there's some merit to it for sure. Or in like ponds, there's some merit to it. The option's there. That's why we have the option, but it's a preference thing, I think it's chicken nuggets, chicken sandwich, chicken nugget, chicken sandwich type of deal. All right. Let's see if I can hold you guys hostage. If we get, let's see, we need 12 more members. If we get 12 more members before I'm supposed to be done, which is at 1 o'clock, so it's 6 more minutes. 12 more members, I'll live stream another hour. I got just enough drink. I could do another hour. Any less than 12 though, we'll save it till next time. So you might be bored. You might have to go do Mother's Day stuff, or you might be like, no, I need another hour. Am I happy? Oh, my wife asked a question. Am I happy with how the fish room has turned out so far? Yes. The only things hold me back, like the things I don't like. I don't like how far the 800 gallon is away, but I'm not going to move it forward. I don't like how much echo's in here, but all of these things are going to be fixed. I love the ping pong table. We played that last night. I love being able to have my board meetings or my meetings or whatever right there with that TV and all of that. It's super useful. I think I don't even get to fully realize the benefits of the new fish room yet because we're not done tweaking and building things yet. Like I just installed a new lock yesterday. It was super cool. So it auto locks. And so we can give different employees numbers to get in. And so we know who's coming in and it auto locks behind them and all that kind of stuff. So there's still things we're still tweaking daily. Like I need to stop my Roomba from going at 11 a.m. on Sundays because that's when I've been live streaming lately. So, but I think it's going to be really good, especially if I'm spending an hour in here in the fish room over there every day. Is there any Peru video that wasn't posted? Yeah, there is. There's always like extra footage that doesn't get posted. We're working on like a different Charles Clapsaddle video because there's some extra. Well, we want to edit it down from an hour, and there's always extra parts and then China, and there's that kind of stuff too. So there's always a little bit more, but it's always a double-edged sword. Some people are like, we already seen this video, guy. And then there's like the people that are like, no, I've watched them all. This is actually a new footage. And so, you know, I kind of put it out when we don't have anything else to put out. Right now, we're real hand to mouth of like, shoot a video, put it out, shoot a video, put it out. And usually we're much more ahead in time. But with the move and everything, and like normally I should be making some green screen videos, but I don't have the green screen up, so we're gonna be, you know, just it makes it hard for everybody just doing the videos basically right now. So hopefully get ahead. Still need 8 more NERMs, 8 more members. We got 4 more minutes. How are the koi doing in the new pond? It's hard to see them a lot of times. The reflection on the pond. Yesterday it was raining, so we couldn't see them. But when you do get a glimpse, you see the whole school of them, and it's awesome. More on my to-do list. I want to get an auto feeder out there. Eventually, I want to get power out there. I got to remove the big air stone and air pump from my current pond and bring it to this pond. There's still, like, this week will be filled with things that I have to go and do. Got to tear down some more of the fish room. Got to clean out some of the garage. Got to do a bunch of things still. So it's not just like I wake up and like, what do I want to do today? It's still like, okay, I do all these things, and what else I got to do? I'm hoping to pare it down. Where's the best place to get low cost glass for a pond window? I think you're gonna have the best luck at like just like a window store. That's the worst example. What do they call that place? You just call them when you need a new window, and you can have them cut the glass, and they'll be like, how thick do you want? Do you want it tempered? Don't you want it tempered? Do you want the edges sanded? Like, if you're going for absolute cheapest, buy like find a pretty thick shower door, something like that on Craigslist for free or whatever. Like, someone's just getting rid of this crap. Like, come get it. You might be able to use like a skylight window thing. Tannest forearms in Washington. Yeah. I got white feet though. I just started wearing the flippy floppies, so start getting them tanned. 6 more NERMs. You got 2 minutes, people. Who's gonna be that NERM at the buzzer? Neat. Glass shop. Yeah, glass store. Oh man. The third, if we go over the third hour, my brain, it might just turn straight to jello. Ooh, that would be good. Put the paleo stuffed loach on the Roomba. I should decorate my Roomba. I need like a Corridora on there. Look, it's cleaning. Or I need a Plecostomus. I do have my Plecostomus piggy bank. Yeah, we gotta clean out the whole garage. There is so much aquarium stuff and house stuff, and like, you know, you got to keep business records for 7 years. So now is like the first year I can start not throwing it out, but like shredding some of that. Yeah, there's so much to go through. It's daunting to even start. Oh. Get that gym rolling so you can swim in the Amazon. Well, I still have to go work out tomorrow. I work out Mondays and Wednesdays, and the Amazon. So one time I jumped off the boat, right? Because you come back and you're just covered in mud, so you jump off the back of the boat. And we were on the main trunk of the Amazon. That water, stupid fast. Like, everyone that jumped in was like, oh my God, you gotta really swim to get back to the boat. And it was like this to like me needing help, like, and other people too. Like, because the boat kind of blocks it, but if you jump out past the boat, that water is going. That was the only time I ever been scared in water. One time I was younger, the ocean kind of got a hold of me and was like taking me out, but it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Not that I was going to drown, but like, that's a giant boat. They'd have to like go down and try and get me. And I'd have to be like trying to swim to the side. So I stopped moving, and the boat being that big couldn't always get to everywhere. So there's 50 seconds left, and we need 2 more NERMs, 2 more members. Who's doing it? My friends are crazy for your ideas. My ideas are crazy, so probably works out all right. Can I add Fritz Turbo Start with fish? Yeah, it's safe for fish. You can add those in common. I was actually thinking about ordering some to put in the tank that had a little bit of nitrite. Instead, I just moved to seasoned sponge filter, but I almost did. Almost. Need to get the wife back on the stream. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the microphone. They're supposed to come tomorrow. But the microphones, the goal is, I'm actually charging it right here, like a little battery bank. Little battery bank with a little wireless lavalier mic that'll be, on someone's shirt. Put this in their pocket, and then no matter where they go in the room, it'll sound good. Because the problem we always have is, like, if Dean and I or someone else on the show, you might be hearing me, and then Dean's talking over here kind of quiet, and you're like, hey, I can't hear Dean, can't hear Bob, can't. And then, so we're going to try and solve that. Plus, it should help with some of the echo and all that. And we can also do more. Like, once we get that dialed in, we could go with, like, we have 4 people on a show. Get a little crazy when that happens, but we're working on that. But yeah, that equipment right there, just to do 2-person lavalier mic with all that's $1,000. So, it's want to make sure it works before I order up more. It's been 2 hours and now 1 minute. Just right then, we got to 32 members. So that means extension unlocked. In fact, I'll do it again. I'll actually do it again. If we get to 50 members, so that's 18 more in the next hour. I'll do another hour. At some point, I'm going to get hungry, but I'll do another hour again if we do that. But I'm going to focus on answering more questions. Number 1 seller, is it sponge filters or nano air pumps? Depending on time of year and that kind of stuff. And it depends. Like, the way the software works, depending on which report I look at, some will be if it's an individual item, so like only large sponge filter, only medium sponge filter, or is it a combination of like all the sponge filters because they're all like the same item but they're different variants versus something else. So I think the number 1 is if you have all the variants, it is sponge filters because all of those sell so many. Like, how many sponge filters have we sold? I don't know. It's a big number. I don't know if it's that big though. Oh, I think the number 1 just of 1 item product, I think it's the air stones. Let me see. So sponge filters, how many, are we sold out of some of those yet? I know we bought enough. So with our projection software, we bought enough to have over 6 months inventory. And then it actually turned out that we didn't have enough because of COVID, and we sold way more. Oh my gosh. That's a big number. All right. So here's how many sponge filters we sold. 21,325 units to 8,968 customers. Does that mean on average customers buy 2.5? Yeah, and that's the last 90 days. How many is that a day? Math somewhere. Let me do math. My phone can do math. 21,325 divided by 90. That means you sell 236, almost 237 sponge filters a day. Yeah. It is a lot of money, but we also spend a lot in shipping. I think last month we spent $167,000 in shipping. Oh, it makes me sick thinking about it. The amount of reships and stuff that gets lost, and not that much get lost, but I swear like 1% of the population cannot put their address in where they actually live. Oh, that was my grandma's. You sent all the plants to my grandma's? Oh, that's this. Like, oh my gosh, people, you're going to give me a heart attack. Yeah, let's see. For the air stones, we'll see. I think that's the number 1. Because anyone that buys a sponge filter typically buys an air stone too. So we should have sold at least that many of those probably. Need bigger packs of root tabs? Bigger than 60? 60 is already a lot. We sell the 60 packs. Oh no. Maybe, well, yeah, of a single item, we sold 19,991 of the air stones. So, Are people eating their sponge filters or what? I think, honestly, I think what it is, I think that we have a good use case, and that is everyone that enters the hobby kind of gets started with an off-the-shelf filter. They're buying cartridges. They might be having some problems. And then when they do use a sponge filter, the game gets easier. You get a sponge filter, you get some plants, and then all of a sudden you've got this really stable aquarium where you're not taking out cartridges and losing some of the bacteria, and then they just set up their next tank, right? And so if you look at it where new to the hobby, one tank, one hang on back, move to a sponge filter, what's the next logical step? Multi-tank syndrome. Now I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 aquariums, and they're all getting sponge filters. So I think that's what's going on, but we can't, not like I can talk to everyone and ask them. What we'll use as substrate when breeding live bearers. I used to use lots of crushed coral. Now, just any substrate that makes sense. I've got normal kind of rock. I've got some sands. I've got some like eco-complete type stuff. It shouldn't matter. It should be easy going. Finally like the stream. Sorry for the delay. Well, no worries. We're up to 949, trying to get to 1,000 likes. That's my quality H2O. Got an itchy eye. Can somebody please make a recommendation? I've been looking at and can't find which canister filter would be the best on a rimless 4-gallon. Most are for 10 to 30 gallons. I think that's too much flow. How about we go shopping? Let's do it. Because I know off the top of my head what I would do. I don't know if we can still get them anymore. Let's see. Yeah, I would buy this thing. Well, this is a used one, but I'll show it to you anyway. I would buy this Phoenix PX360. We used to sell these. They do well on small tanks. You could also do the ZoomEd Nano tank that's up to 10 gallons. Now, don't let that 100% like throw you off. Like, it's only a 4-gallon. All those numbers are ridiculous anyway, and they don't mean anything. But usually you can turn them down a little bit. Let's see if this thing will let me. I don't know what site this is. Marine Depot, my competitor. You get 10% off. Look at that. Pop-ups, I hate you. Look at this. I will never shop here. I could not stand pop-ups. Oh, how dare you. Get out of here. Get this garbage out of here. I don't understand companies that still do pop-ups. Like, I've tried it under like consultants, and I'm always like, nope, take that crap off. I hate that. Like, people are either here to buy or they aren't to buy. They either want to be bothered or not bothered. Yeah. Let's see here. This Turtle Clean is the same, by the way. This is the same filter. This Nano 10 and this Turtle Clean is like the same thing. Also, the reason I like these ones, both the Phoenix one and this one, they're made so they can be almost at tank level. Most times canister filters are made where they have to sit way far down and pump, and so they have to have the water fall kind of a lot. These ones, they don't have to have that. This is eBay. Yeah, this one's the 15-gallon one, quote unquote. Oh, the worst picture too? Come on, eBay. Well, usually, I bet you, like if I click on this, I bet you right here, you could, one of these valves is going to let you turn it down. And if it won't, the tubing that goes to your tank, you could put a valve in there and throttle it down a little bit. So I would use either one of these ZoomEd ones, or I would use the Phoenix one. And the reason I like those, which I'm a canister filter hater, but in a rimless 4-gallon tank, evaporation is gonna be your nightmare. And a hang-on back and a sponge filter are you're gonna be refilling that thing all the time, which is fine if you spend an hour a day with your aquariums. But outside of that, let me see if Amazon's got something I can show you guys. Yeah, here you go. Amazon will do it. Right here, you got this ZoomEd Nano 10-gallon, up to 10-gallon tank, $40. 2 pictures? Yeah. I don't know how they do it. Like, this is a complicated thing. They're not showing any media. If it comes with any media, like, I got more pictures on a sponge filter or something. Like, look at this. We got all these, like, dimensions, and I don't know how people get away with Like, and this is the most basic thing on the planet, really. Like, give us some more pictures. You want us, like, who's selling this? Amazon.com. So ZoomEd's selling directly to Amazon. Amazon, get your crap together. Get some more pictures. You know better than this. Make it easy for my dude with a 4-gallon to equip his 4-gallon with a canister filter. I'm getting right. There we go. Right page. Whew. Relocating from Colorado to Washington. I don't know if it'll be worth my drive. My beloved 30 corridoras. I don't want to start over. Oof. That's hard. What I would do, I would either, yeah, well, it depends. If you're going to fly, I would probably drop them in the mail, fly over and receive them, assuming you've got a tank on the ready and all that, or if you have someone that lives here, ship them to a family member. I probably wouldn't drive them, honestly. Well, it's just rough. It's a lot. You're investing a lot of time and energy to get those corridors over there, which it could be. Like, I would drive my dogs that far. Maybe you feel that strong about your, about your corridors. Amazon UV sterilizer makes a nice polisher. Yeah, it can definitely clean up your water. Someday I want to like, without giving my idea, I want to invent a UV sterilizer that does a thing that no one else does yet. I mean, it'll do what UV sterilizer does, but it's not used in the way other people use it. So, ooh, we did hit 1,000 likes, 1,018. I like it. See what I did there? Yeah, hate pop-ups. Yeah, it's. I try to really, like, I don't run any tracking on the website, so we don't retarget you guys, we don't do any of that on pop-ups. I'm even adverse to like letting people opt in, because there's too many people that don't know what they're clicking yes on, right? So it's like, do you want to receive desktop notifications? I guess. And then let's say you're getting too many notifications from us and you don't want them anymore. They don't know how to undo it, and now they're just angry at us, like, you're spamming me. Teach me how. And it's like, well, what computer do you have? This and that. And so we try really hard not to, I basically go, we're on the internet. If you want to find Aquarium Co-op, we're here. We don't make it hard. If you forget about us, we're not doing a very good job. We send out our monthly or our weekly newsletter. We're on YouTube every week. We're on Facebook. Oh yeah, someone was asking. I forgot about that. Someone was asking me if I do the Instagram stuff. I don't. I honestly think Instagram is useless. It's not a great place to interact with each other. Like, comments aren't that meaningful. It's not a great place to have a great long dialogue either. You post up a picture, and just the culture, in my opinion, like, using all the filters and taking the best shot of your aquarium and doing all of that is not a realistic scenario. Like, I would much rather you guys see me like, your aquarium looks terrible. Look at all that algae, bro. I'm like, yeah, I know. I love it though. Look, my brine shrimp are breeding. Instead of like looking how glamorous it could be. And I don't know. Definitely each platform gets its own culture going. And if I'm not into the culture, I don't hang out there. Like, I do have my own little Instagram-y thing on this. Like, I'm mostly just using it to keep track of my own crap of like, hey, that's what my koi looked like last year. Hey, that's what this looked like. Not so much like, I better grow this and better be able to advertise and do all of that, because they're like the worst at that too. So for me, Instagram, whenever I get on there, it's only like, oh, I can't sleep. All right, let's see what's going on in the world. All right, now I'm going to bed. But I keep it there so that if they do make a bunch of changes and Instagram changes the way it is and becomes better, we'll have we're almost at 100,000 people there or whatever, and we could utilize. That's the important part, is we wouldn't be starting from zero. We'd have 100,000 and then go, okay, now we got to get serious about this. They've enabled this and that, and it's great, and it's great for fish, and we really like it. Let's do all of that. If they like integrated a forum and did all that kind of stuff, like, wow, okay, now we're on board. met me at the Aquatic Experience. We were talking about Aquatic Experience and Aquashella last night. Yeah, talking about. I just don't think it's. I personally don't think it's time to go do in-person events yet. Like, I'm not like. Everyone's got their own stance on whatever, right? Like, I don't want to get talking too much about it, but I don't think the risk versus reward is there for me right now. Of like, let me go meet a bunch of people. Like, if I was to get sick, I got too much going on. I don't have enough time as it is, so I'm a abstain from traveling kind of as long as I can. If I'm going to travel, I want to go somewhere and show, like, when I do an event, I can meet like 7,000 people in a weekend, and that's great, and that's its own thing. Or what if I go to Germany and I film something super cool and then 100,000 people can watch it? So, and I actually have more risk if I'm going to shake 7,000 people's hands. I got way more risk. And that's the thing I think that maybe some people don't get is I get sick every time when there's not COVID because I shake 7,000 people's hands. And it's not even like, well, you could put alcohol in your hands every time. Like, your hands will be raw by the time you've shaken 7,000 people's hands. People want to take selfies, they want hugs, all of that. It's just an odds game. After 7,000, maybe I don't get COVID, but I'm coming away with the flu or a cold, and then I gotta ride the plane home, and then I gotta recover for like a week. Like, oh, I feel like I've shaking hands with 7,000 people. Now, the going out to eat with people and hanging out with people, all that I do love. But at the moment, I don't want the extra, like, well, what if COVID went down? Like, I'm fully vaxxed and everything, but I also don't want to create this, like, big group of people. And I know that, like, we can barely keep a line from rioting when there's not having to be social distance or anything crazy going on. So for now, we're as a company abstaining from it and just waiting till it makes more sense, which it might be as soon as October. I've got some events and they want me out in Australia, and we're gonna do in-person events. I don't know when we're starting them, but part of the membership thing is in-person events. By the way, I actually learned. So I was talking with our accountants and everything about this whole membership thing, and it's everything is always way bigger than I think, and we don't sell anything at the events we go to, and because I always thought it tainted, like, I didn't want to be like, well, I'm here to sell you guys crap. I always wanted to give stuff away and meet you guys. Well, we were thinking about, like, if we did these events, let's say we're like, okay, let's do an event and it's in Nebraska and we're all eating pizza or whatever, tacos, and we got some speakers. We were going to do it so that if you're a member, you get in free. Boom. You've been paying. You guys get dinner on us and speakers on us if you want to drive to Nebraska, right? And then if you weren't a member, you have the option to become a member or pay, let's say it's $10 to get in. I don't know what it is, right? But then our accounts are like, no, you can't do that. And because the minute we sell something physically, like if I'm physically in Nebraska and we sell something there, it will be treated like we have a retail store there. And that changes our whole tax structure. So going forward, when we do these events, we are going to do events that are basically like member only. And it's because we can't, either I have to make them free or I gotta charge for them. And to do the events we want to do, we have to recoup some of the money. We can't do a ton of events at a loss of like, oh, we had to feed 132 people and we had to rent the venue and we had to do this. So it's just going to be member only. So, but I did not anticipate. I'm glad we never broke the rules of like, oh, we've been selling stuff. And so now I always wonder, like, wait, all these other people that are selling it at these shows, are they getting business license and reporting taxes correctly? Had no idea. Yeah. What is the next trip for you? I think my next trip will be the UK, which I don't know there's going to be a ton to film, but I'm going to try and piggyback to go hang out with Chris Lucup, the Shrimp King, and film stuff in Europe, hopefully. And then after that, I'm hoping China, because there's the big Chinese international pet show that I want to go back to, talk with vendors in person, look at new products, see what's coming down the pipeline, because we didn't go last year. So it's going to be 2 years, and there could be new stuff that we don't even know about yet. We'll be obviously looking at heaters and lights and all that kind of stuff that we don't have that we might want to launch. And but it all depends on what's What's the state of travel? What's the state of the world? What's, you know, how is it going to work out? All of that. So, like I don't, maybe, you know, maybe I sneak a Peru trip in August or something like that, but I honestly, I don't know. Like, we're only a few months out. It could still happen, but they're not even, I don't even know if they're booking seats for it or anything yet. And I also need time. I need some time to get the fish room in order. Like, there's still a lot of stuff that needs to happen before I can even really travel. Like, I don't have any auto feeders set up. I don't have the resources set up like I did at the other place. So I gotta get everything in working order. I got a house I gotta sell still. Has anyone ever kept a bullfrog either in their pond or their aquarium? I got a bunch of bullfrogs down there. I don't know anything about them. They started making this crazy low, like, sound that I had never heard, even though we've sat out there so many nights yesterday. So, yeah, I'll be learning about bullfrogs, I guess. I assume they'll be eating any koi babies and that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see. Randy would love to come feed your fish room with you. He would do it if I asked him to. That'd be a very expensive fish sitter, and like in China, he'll be going with me. So, you know, as he's the one that's been interacting with these vendors mostly, and he's got to make sure they come over okay and all of that. Like, he needs to be there on the ground to see what is it that I saw, what deal did we negotiate or not negotiate. Oh, I met this person. Because a lot of times you'll meet them, you'll talk to them, and then you go to send them an email like a week later, and they just never respond. It's like, what are you guys doing? You spent all this money, and we thought we had something worked out, and now you're just ignoring us. What material is the easy planter made of? I'd have to ask. I think it's like a plastic and resin and some sand. So part of the problem is, I know we went through a few iterations, and so, like, if something's not working out right, we might change the blend, and so I don't know 100%, but some version of plastic / resin. I think it's resin. That's why they can technically break. Plastic would just give. But so if you use too much plastic, then like any of the coloring would crack and that kind of stuff, whereas the resin stays hard, so it doesn't chip as much. Next trip for me, I'm planning to go U.S. native shiner collecting. That sounds fun, like in Alabama, that kind of stuff. I do want to go do some of that stuff around the United States, possibly. If I get everything together and it's warm in August and I got nothing better to do, we might do some road tripping. I still got to buy some mounts. Like, I need to buy the mount for like this camera underwater. So there's still some equipment investments we need to make. So we went to buy one, then it was sold out. So I gotta wait for them to restock. That, you guys are probably running that just like I am. Half the stuff I go to buy nowadays is like, oh, it won't be in for another month, or it's back ordered, or so that kind of slows some stuff down too. Bullfrogs will hunt and eat anything they can get in their mouths and can get very large. Yeah, I think most animals do that for the most part. If it fits in my mouth, it's going there. Get in there, chicken nugget. The new Zenzo video with Dean's craziest fish room ever had a bullfrog in a tank. I haven't watched that video yet. I probably should, but I haven't. Part of it is I get half the stories from like Dean in person, like oh yeah, we filmed the video and I talked about this and that, and then I miss the other. So it's kind of like rewatching something I kind of know about, but then I miss out on half of it. So, any chance of getting the sponge filters and the test strips in Canada? I'd say probably pretty likely to get test strips in Canada. The problem when it comes to sponge filters, let me see. So we look at sponge filters in Canada on Amazon. They're $18, $19. See, like this one, this one's $38. This one's $10. I think the problem we're gonna have is we're gonna have to sell sponge filters like $20+, and people are just gonna be like, "You're getting rich off of this," and they won't see that like Amazon charges in Canada $5 per product for advertising. Then there's the fees to ship it up there. There's the tariffs and that kind of stuff. Then there's going to be the picking and the packing fee, then the percentage of when it sells, right? And so it just adds up, and then people are like, why are you gouging Canada? And it's like, I'm not even really making money in Canada. Like, it still costs us more for our Canadian tax accountant than it does when we make in Canada. Like, I think gross sales in Canada last year was like $60,000, right? So in all the year we made $60,000, but we only make like $1 a unit we sell, and the tax account was like $5,000. So I think we literally still came out negative in Canada last year, which that on one side, that means we need to get more products up there, more revenue going, so that way we actually profit instead of lose money. But we got to figure out, like, I can't make a sponge filter like twice as much sponge filter and the same sponge filter to make it seem like a better value in Canada. So but test strips I think are a good one because they're a smaller product. And I think even if you're like, these test strips are $30, still 200 tests. Like, it's still a decent value. Where one sponge filter at $25 or $30, you might be like, this guy's trying to gouge me. And like, well, not trying to gouge you, but I might be forced to. My mouth the chicken nugget corral. Nice. How close are we to another hour live stream? We need 12 more. So if you guys want another hour, which I might have to get another drink if we're going another hour, but if you want another hour of I'll keep setting goals and reasonable goals. I'll go until we stop hitting the goal. I did see a Twitch streamer one time had to go for like 46 days, which on one hand, he became the biggest Twitch streamer of all time. And on the other hand, he really kind of hated his life because he had to like reschedule doctor's appointments, all that kind of stuff. But if we ever got to that point, I'll keep setting reasonable goals, and if we hit them, and then I'll come up with funkier stuff to do. I'll keep showing, I don't know, weird stuff. Maybe in the next hour I'll wear some of the taco hat. Have I already used the double-sided sponge filters? I like the biomedia option at the base. Yeah, I thoroughly tested those. So if we're looking at something like these guys right here, I thoroughly tested these a couple years ago. What I don't like is the suction cups. The suction cups were never that good. And I don't like the fine sponge, like this one too. But the suction cups are always like, these aren't good enough. And so I did consider launching a version of that because I didn't want to use it for this. So a lot of people don't want, like, I got a planted tank, right? And they don't want to mix crushed coral into their substrate. So I thought it'd be great to put crushed coral here, buffer your pH, still have the sponge filtration. It would keep the crushed coral from getting coated in gunk, which would make it dissolve for longer periods of time. But the suction cups were always kind of bad, and the parts were a little bit janky, like they didn't quite fit right, and like it was going to take a lot of work. And I was like, this is a lot of work to make a product that I'm not even 100% like, do we need this? Like, is this the thing that was really that good? So, but yeah, I did test them quite a bit, and you could make them work, but suction cups, that's the biggest pet peeve I have is most products on the market do not have good suction cups. So that's one of the deal breakers on a lot of stuff is I'm like, suction cups suck. Can we get better ones? Nope. Got to move on. Like, cannot have a great product with bad suction cups. Candy says, well, I move in 10 days. Let's not go past that. That's right. We're delaying candy. If we go over 10 days, we'll delay candy. At that point, we'll have so many members. We'll made so much money. It'll make sense to reschedule some of the stuff. Like, we'll just be like, buy her another bed, even though it's in the truck. Do I keep any live culture still? Not currently. I was thinking about that, though, with the new fish room getting, I was thinking about doing micro worms, but I haven't done any of that yet. It's on the to-do list. Like, I've looked a little bit on Aquabid, like, yeah, maybe I'll order some. I think Michael's Fish Room might do some. Oh, by the way, I got some fish from Michael's Fish Room. I bought some guppies. I got another pair of the best guppies in the world, as I call them. And so they're just living in a 40 breeder. Hopefully I'll have better luck with them this time. They never really like made a bunch of fish. They're the best looking fish, I think, best looking guppies. But I do wonder, if they're using hormones to get the females to be that colorful, that big of a tail, and so therefore that makes them really bad breeders. I don't know. I feel like something's going on there. Those sponge filters on Amazon Canada are fine, foam, and when looking for coarse filters, the ones I find are 17 and sold out. Yeah, I do know that our sponge filters are different. We just have this weird public perception problem. Like, Candy can attest for it. People will get angry at us. And they'll send an angry email like, why are you gouging the Canadian market? And they won't be like super fans that are watching the live stream. They'll just be like a random, like, they kind of know about us, and why are we being so evil? You know, it's like, we're not. Like, and I won't do things in business that lose us money long term. It doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, well, we sell sponge filters at -$5 each in Canada. Like, that's just a horrible business model. So, you know, and everything will work out in time. When it's meant to work out, it'll work out. Like, oh, what do you know? We have a new best friend in Canada. They'll ship all the stuff for us. Great. We ship it up there. It's all working out. Woohoo. But maybe that day never comes. Or maybe it's not meant to happen yet. Maybe it happens tomorrow. Vinegar eels are better and less work to keep. Yeah, they're also a lot smaller, though. I almost never have fry that really need vinegar eels. I don't think microworms are hard to keep, honestly. A little bit of mashed potato, not hard. Find out that Orlushy heaters on Amazon get their suction cups. Those heaters are worth buying for the suction cups. Orlushy, huh? Let me bring that up on the old Amazon. Orlushy heater? Is that a brand? So it is. Orlushy heater. All right, I'll leave that up on the screen. Maybe I'll tell Randy, like, let's look into these Orlushy heaters and their suction cups. Crowdsourcing, best way. Wait, is this I have a live stream window up from last week still. Let me close that. Looking at chat from a week ago. All right, let me get back. Here we go. Just picked up some longfin rosy barbs for my 75-gallon. You think tiger barbs are too aggressive to mix with them? I bet you it'll be all right. I mean, it could definitely be a problem, but barbs are pretty, they're pretty scrappy with themselves. My Orlushy heater died within a few months. Buyer beware. Most heaters can go out. It'll probably just be another heater I'll try out and be like, nope. I feel like I'm searching for something that doesn't exist now. Like, I can just not find the best heater out there. And I've been working on it for so many years at this point. It's so frustrating. I don't know how to do it. One day we'll break the code. I would buy blackworms. Blackworms are fun. I haven't done them in a long time. Who knows? I'm glad we don't sell blackworms anymore. I cannot even imagine what the blackworm scene is like with COVID and all these delays and disruptions and all that. And who knows? Who knows? I have 3 of those 2-sided Higger sponge filters, each in 3-gallon planet tanks. I haven't had any problems with them at all. I bought them before I found the coop. Nice. Have you guys seen the Higger does? Let me see if I can find it on Amazon. So Amazon has Amazon influencers, which they've always, well, not always, but had for a long time. But they have live streamers now. I thought about streaming just because it'd be funny. But let me see. How do I find live streams? If I can find it. They have like the worst live stream. Because it's only their products. And then they like, I don't know. It was some crazy stuff. I want to find it so you can just be like, what? At one point, there's like Darth Vader masks and weird people on the screen. And darn it. They make it too hard. Like maybe I have to sign in. Let me try signing in. Oh, I'm not signing on this browser though. It's got to be a way. Live streams, music videos. I need a direct account, or I need a direct link to. Let me Google it. Amazon Live? Oh, here we are. Okay, now let me see if I can find it for you guys. I'll take you with me. So this is Amazon's live stream stuff. How do I find? Is it live now? Let's see if they're live. Pet sale items. Best pet. That's not them though. I know there's some aquarium ones. Is there a way to search these? But basically, it's what I do essentially. Of like, oh here's one. Huge project water change. This isn't it. There we go. They just show off all their products, so it's kind of humorous to watch, but it like doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of times. But I think it's fun because you can see some of like the Chinese market products. So it's kind of fun to watch, but you know, there's no objectivity to it. That's what I try to bring objectivity of like, look, my product's pretty good, but in this instance you need something else. And I felt like theirs is more like, no, ours is the best. Don't even think about anything else. Do it just like before. I want to find the one where they had the crazy costumes and stuff, because it was a little like, whoa. Yeah, they were in this room when they had all the costumes and everything, but I don't know. But yeah, so there's live streaming on YouTube now for, it's big in the tech world. I haven't seen any other fish people do it. That's why I was like, I could do fish. It's just Higger Aquarium, small fish world. So yeah, give it a watch if you got some extra time. It's entertaining, like all the rubber duckies and all right. Enough watching other people's live streams. Back to answering our questions. Black worms are no problem. Buy them every week for months. They must have gotten better. I mean, I know we were buying like 30 plus pounds at a time, and it was always difficult for us even back then. We'd be like 60 or 70 pounds a week at this point, probably. We were selling a crazy amount of black worms. But that's good to hear. I'm glad that there's been water shortages and that kind of stuff. My wife tells me to go outside. Well, I don't know if my wife knows I'm still alive. She says there's a bald eagle around the pond right now. It's huge. Well, if you're listening, take a picture. I'm working. All right, maybe I'll take a look. I'll be right back. I didn't see it. I didn't see a bald eagle. I saw a bunch of ducks on my pond and a little bird. I didn't see any bald eagle. I need to start showing up in a costume. It's next level. You know, what you don't realize is the consultant I hired was a costume consultant. So, yeah, the taco hat. Yeah, it's about on par. Canadian NERMs wouldn't complain. We will take care of Canada the best we can. Amazon's still limiting us. It is on the radar for sure. It is just taking way too long. I got one of those old Eheim heaters with a very thick heating wire in it that works forever. Or the same heater new, and it's got a cheap, thin heating element. And it's very disappointing. Yeah, I collide with people a lot over the Eheim heaters. People are like, they're the best, like they were many years ago. Now, like, as a guy that had to sell thousands of these things, right, in the store, there was a lot of problems with them. And their customer service wasn't the best. They basically had to like, our heaters are perfect. How dare you? You think one of our heaters broke? What's wrong with the customer? How are they broke? You know, it's like, it's in my hands, guys. I see it. I'm not just an idiot. Like, I have 100 of them here. I sell them. I know how this heater works. I know how they're calibrated. I know this. I've gone through with your stupid tech support guy before. He knows I know how to do this. It's broken. Okay, well, you're gonna have to cut the cord and send it back, then we'll send you another one. That costs more than just give me a new one. That ain't gonna work. Yeah. It's either A, you can't make an indestructible heater anymore, or B, no one's willing to do it, and they'd rather let the hobby be worse for it. I mean, maybe someday I'll be able to do it, but maybe there's something I don't know why it can't be done right now. Who knows? Did I hear Cobalt's new line of heaters that turn on heat gradually to meet the needs of the tank? Is Cobalt even still a company? Last I heard, they were in like financial dire straits. Let me see. What's the name of the new heater? I don't see any like new heater from them yet. Yeah, if you got the new name, I'll take a look at it, but I don't see any new heater with that. Can a USB nano air pump run a large sponge filter in a 75-gallon, or should I consider a larger air pump? Technically, it could run it. Like, I've run them on the 800-gallon, so it can technically push it, but depends on how much flow you want. If you want more flow, you can get yourself a bigger pump. Nobody wants to make an indestructible heater because they can't make money off the indestructible heaters. I don't think that's true. I think they don't have the marketing to do it. So imagine this, like, let's say, how many heaters does the average aquarist buy? Not us in this chat, but let's say the average hobbyist. 2, 3, maybe in their lifetime? I don't know, 4? I don't know what the number is, right? But you could take that, and then so let's say, like, let me pull up like a PetSmart right now. I always love to shop my competitors because it keeps me current. Aquarium heater. Let's look at an Eheim right here. This is one of the reasons I had to stop selling too. Let's look at like an Eheim. Let's just take that company as an example, right? Click on an Eheim. And you look at the 100-watt here, $26, right? They're out of stock at this one or whatever, but $100, right? Or $25. You go to like a 300-watt, $28. So that's the thing, $28.99 for a 300-watt, right? So let's say on average someone's buying 4 of those, spend like $100. They could make that old Eheim heater that never broke and sell it for like $100. Now, is that going to be a harder sell than the $28 one? Yes, it is. But you would gain over time a reputation for having an indestructible heater, and don't play the game. Right now, they let themselves be downplayed. Like you get a PetSmart, and PetSmart comes to you and goes, look, we're going to sell, like, let's look at some other heaters here. Like, they have Aquarium, what do they have? They have Top Fin. Visitherm. Well, they'll basically, you look at it and you go, oh, we sell Aquarium heaters and they're $25. So they can't sell one at $50 because they're not going to sell on the shelf. And because a PetSmart will carry all those heaters, they're not going to sell. And so you need the marketing behind it, and you need all the good YouTubers. You need people on Instagram. You need people on TikTok. You need all these people going, look, this is the heater. You should invest in it. It's going to work. And they're going to get the same amount of money, right? So you sell a heater at $100 versus the average person buying 4 at $25. But then you've got the NERMs, right? The NERMs are like, oh, I have 22 aquariums. I spent $2,200 on heaters, but they last forever. Yes, there'd be a resale market on them. Like, oh, I sold one used for $70. They'd last forever. But I still think that's a better thing overall. Because right now, everyone sells kind of a mediocre heater, and you're not getting all the sales. If you made one good heater, you'd get all the sales. What's my favorite heater, even though I prefer to heat the room? So the last heaters that I bought for that I actually went out to buy and I had stock relying on them, the last ones that I purchased were the Fluval LED ones, the digital ones. I pretty much put my faith with Fluval on those just because we sold a ton. We still sell some in the retail store, not the digital ones. And so we know like how often they're going to break, not very often, and that kind of stuff. But I still think everything could be done better. So I usually go with something I know. You know, I'm gonna buy what I know, and I gotta trust it. I test lots of them though, and for the most part, most heaters are very similar, and that's both good and aggravating. Let's see, we got 15 minutes left. Right now, I get to end because we need 11 members. So unless you guys are holding it back. I have decent luck with the Fluval Marina heaters so far. 2 years. Yeah, we sell those ones. Yep, I think we sell 2 different Fluval heaters right now. Cobalt heaters are pretty awesome. Ask Dean. Dean will show you a pile of broken ones. Ooh, did anyone come up with the new, whatever the new Cobalt heater was? I wanted to look into it, whatever it was. Why not kick Amazon to the curb and go direct to Canada? I've got the warehouse space. I mean, at some point we could, and that is like a possibility. But they do handle quite a bit of like collecting all the taxes and duties and that kind of stuff. Like there's some stuff to figure out, but at some point we probably will level to that, but we have to hire enough people. At the end of the day, we've got probably, I think if I looked, probably 11 products in the pipeline right now. I have 4 cargo containers. We have $500,000 of stuff on the water coming to us right now of new products and all that kind of stuff. And so we just don't have the capital and the resources of employees to go, hey, let's launch this division. Whereas sending stuff up to like Amazon Canada is in the wheelhouse. Like we can kind of peel off and do a little bit and keep it going. And then eventually it'll be like, okay, make the shift. Plus we want a proof of concept. Enough of this is selling. We could then have, you know, and part of it is like I have to spin up developers, right? So the developers can make aquariumcoop.ca instead of .com, and then we have to limit product selection, tag everything correctly, make it work out, make it so they can check out, and then your warehouse essentially would be the 3PL, so the third-party shipping company, right? All that's got to work seamlessly to uphold the Aquarium Co-op level of customer service. We'd have to train up Candy and other people to know how does the Postal Service work, what's the expected delays, how do they handle, they're claiming I have another duty tax to pay and all of that. And so, you know, but meanwhile, it's like, oh, Candy's moving here and we have all these parts moving. And so it's kind of that, well, it'll happen when it's time for it to happen. We've got the bandwidth to make sure it's a good launch and things like that. And, you know, you make the same case of like, what about the UK? What about Europe? What about? Yeah, there's lots of, you know, really we should be launching in the UK before we launch in Canada. It just so happens that Canada is 45 minutes away, but we have more people to watch in the UK than we do in Canada. Shout out to Candy for fixing my dumb ordering mistake before it shipped within 5 to 10 minutes of me sending an email. Good. Real good. 29-gallon 2-year-old tank crashed after putting in a very large 24 by 6 by 3 piece of driftwood from the local fish store. pH went from 7.6 to 6.8 over 2 days, and the tap KH is 140. Water change 2x a day brings it to 7.4. Seems that all my beneficial bacteria died, and the NH4 is rocketing. All right, let me digest that. Well, you shouldn't have lost all your bacteria just to go down to 6.8. It definitely is probably, I bet you it's not the, so, okay, let me just back up and tell you what I think goes on. You put in a big piece of wood, wood rots. Rotting wood then becomes ammonia. Ammonia can overwhelm bacteria. If it gets way too high, it can actually sterilize and kill bacteria. But probably what's happening is your bacteria is munching down as much as it can. The ammonia is still overwhelming it. You think you don't have bacteria, but you do. And letting it catch up, doing those water changes is helping. You could take the wood back out. You could add in some beneficial bacteria boosters. But yeah, if it's a huge piece, and depending on the type of wood, some woods like African boglog basically didn't rot. Things like a Malaysian driftwood rots pretty heavily. And so depending on the hardness of the wood and the type of wood, it could really have big impacts or not very big impacts. And that's one of the fans, or one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of wood, is it can play around with parameters a little bit. I do love tacos. Oh, if you've been around a long time, we have like a, for lack of a better term, like a meme. I believe tacos are only crunchy tacos. So if you use a tortilla like a street taco, that's a burrito. And so we've gone through definitions of like, it's got to be like a clamshell shaped. So does that mean that, a hot dog is technically a taco? And yes, it does. One day we'll get more into the taco game. Is there a special live or dry food to feed my juvenile epistogrammas to help them color up? I would feed extreme nano pellets with the krill in it. That'll really bring color out. That's what I would use if I was trying to color them up. Also, you could use live baby brine. Both of those will do it. Soft tacos are just open-faced burritos. No truer words have ever been said, James. A burrito's fully wrapped? Nah. I've built burritos that are so big you can't fully wrap it. It's still a burrito. Yeah. A hot dog is a taco and not a sandwich? No, if you had two disconnected pieces of bread, that makes a sandwich. But being that it has the taco hinge, that makes it a taco. Everyone knows this. When I got serious explaining how to eat a taco with Lamont, if you just go all willy-nilly at a taco, you end up with a mess on a plate. If you go in with some tactic, you can eat that whole taco without it just all breaking loose. Yeah. Hot dogs aren't crunchy? It's true. If you toast the bun enough, you get a crunchy hot dog. Mm-hmm. Neotherm Pros for the Cobalt heaters. Haven't those always been out? Let me look. Yeah, these heaters right here, these Pros, these have been out a long time. They had problems with them splitting open over the 100-watt size. Then they were redeveloped, and those still aren't good. We talked at length and tested heaters from the parent company. So Cobalt, the parent company is Aqua. So they're the company that actually makes this. They're a Polish company, and they actually make this, and Cobalt rebrands it. We did testing, and we got some to Dean and myself, and we tested them, and they, like right here, they're making them in the UK plug, they make them in a US plug, and all of that. And the new ones that were fixed, we still had break, so they weren't fixed for us. What else? What I'm really waiting for, though, if I was gonna, let's say I was gonna get into bed with this company and start doing it, right? I'm waiting for their Wi-Fi, because this is the company that does the Wi-Fi heaters, and they do like right here. I think this is it. There's a thermometer, and it's Wi-Fi, so it'll let you know if it's overheating and that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's come to the US yet. And they also have the Wi-Fi. Like this might be the Wi-Fi. They're the ones that are launching the Wi-Fi canister filter. So. But it's mostly still only in Europe, and this is part of the reason why I go to SIPs is you see this stuff in SIPs. You meet these people, right? And I think we actually met them in Germany. But without going to these shows, you don't see what they're working on, seeing when it's going to launch, and then you don't make the link of like, hey, we'd like to launch that in America. Let me test it, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, to the best of my knowledge, and this was as of this last year, we were working on these heaters. They still were faulty for us. They're not a terrible heater, but they're just not, for the price, they're not like bulletproof. Yeah, let's see if what is it? the Neotherm Pro. Because part of what I do when I'm looking at potential things that we want to carry, I do my research on them, right? And what is it like? See if Bulk Reef Supply still has them. Got the Neotherm. Do they have the Pros though? We got videos. They don't sell them anymore, I don't think. But the reviews on them they were getting is the reef keepers and all that. They were like, "Yep, they're going down left and right." And so I try to look at all the sources I can find reviews, because that's one of the best things, right? Like, okay, I'm thinking about a product. Let me take in all the reviews and all the feedback I can get. Can I fix that? Can we educate better? Can we do something? Top Fin released a Wi-Fi cancer filter. That makes sense. They probably, well, I don't know if they branded it from Aqua, but that's kind of how it works. Is a company will make something and then they'll brand it out to, because Top Fin's just owned by PetSmart, right? Is it this thing? No, that's it. See, like, again, here you can see, like, this one is a multi-stage Eheim one, but it's branded as Top Fin, right? I haven't seen the Wi-Fi canister filter. I'd be tempted to pick one up because I want to play with them. I haven't played with any of them yet. I want to know how good the I don't see any yet. I want to know how good, like, the flow is, because they're supposed to, like, monitor the flow and then notify you on an app to let you know that the flow is being reduced, you need to clean, and they can take care of temperature. And like the Fluval G7 wasn't Wi-Fi, but it could do TDS. Like they could do quite a few things. It'd be pretty nice depending on price and how accurate. And that, so I wouldn't mind playing with one. So I just haven't seen them yet. 41 members, and we've only got 4 minutes. So we're either ending or 9 people are joining the team. 1,000 people here. Technically, they could all already be members, so who knows? Oh, the Pro 200. It's got an Eheim pump. Okay, well, let me look at that. I am genuinely Pro 200 right here. Oh, it does say Wi-Fi control. So here's some reviews. So they have. Let's see if they did their picture homework here. I want to see it. Come on. That's just zooming in more. It's got the 4 locking sides. Got sponge in there. That's a plus. Oh, come on, people. There we go. Let me zoom in some more. I just want to maybe down below. There we go. Okay. Smart hub control panel for integrated web-based filter control. I might order one of these up and play with it. Well, I'm going to read the reviews first. Structure manual's a joke. Okay, yep. The Wi-Fi option doesn't have an app. You have to go to a link on the web browser and hope the setup doesn't restart or reset every hour. If the flow rate stops at all, the system detects error immediately. Huh. This thing is very tall, 21 inches. Yeah, all right. Doesn't come with any biomedia. I still think they should come ready to use for that kind of money. The Wi-Fi interface is very wonky and slow. Although I was finally able to get it set up and updated, the web interface can be unresponsive. How long? 6 months ago. Maybe they got better by then. Wi-Fi connected to my network quickly. That's good. It's quiet. That's good. Power cord disconnects a head unit, so no dealing with that when cleaning. That's a big thing. See, I love that kind of stuff of like, let's see how they did that. Maybe someday if I ever make a cancer filter, that sounds like a great option. Finally, not having to drag the cord with you. Because whenever I'm carrying like an FX6, I'm carrying it and either I like grab it in one hand, now it's hard to carry, or it's dragging on the floor as I go to bring it to a sink to clean it. Primer lever works well as long as there is 0 upslope in the hoses. I wonder what that means, because you would think all hoses are up. Customizable flow settings and flow rate. So that would be kind of cool to play with it. If you can set like I would like to set it for 80 gallons per hour because I have an inline UV sterilizer. That could be really useful, right? So that might be a thing. I feel like overall good filter. The Wi-Fi interface feels a little gimmicky to me. It would be nice if they developed an iPhone or Android app. Yeah, I feel like you gotta have. The whole thing is so your phone will like go off if like you lose power or it stops working or the flow. Having to be, I mean, maybe you get an email. Maybe it's like shoots you an email. Maybe that's good enough. Purchased about a month ago. Like other reviews, for the price you're paying, the filter, should come with everything. Yes, it should, but it's missing all the biological, which you'd have to purchase separately. Additionally, the hose provided was not long enough for both an intake and outtake on my 69-gallon aquarium. Tubing's not that expensive, people. They should include more. The tube included is an odd size, so you'll need to purchase it online. So that's how you usually know it's been made out of country, because it'll be in millimeter size, just like the Eheim hoses, so that becomes a pain. I have spent the last 2 hours trying to get the intake tube started up. The pump button is in an odd place and will hurt your hand. And for the life of me, no matter how fast I pump, I can't get the intake started. I would strongly advise against this filter. It's not worth the price. So like that kind of review, I think is more of a, an actual like education, instruction. I mean, I'm sure there's some downfalls to it too, but we need 6 more members or I'm going to end. You got about a minute, but I might order one to play with one. I don't know really to set it up, but I like knowing so I can help people. I've gained enough pandemic weight. I probably owe you a second membership. Oh, geez. Yeah, I'm still trying to work it off. When I had to go to the doctor this week, and I weigh less than I did last year, so that's good. Most people, well, I don't know. A lot of people say they gained weight, but I don't know. Partnering with the Neptune systems to make a cancer filter would be epic. The problem is, with the Neptune system, it'd probably have to be like $900. Like their stuff is pretty expensive. But yeah, I mean, also becomes a time management thing. Do we have time to, to manage something like that? Like I think a cancer build take a year or more at least. How about developing a heater that works like a household heater? Household water heater, but in miniature. It would have to be a separate compartment with a water line directly into a tank instead of some kind of controller. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they try to do when they try to bridge the gap with like a cancer filter with the heater inside of it. And then you like pump the water through like that. Yeah, I could maybe, but you also have extra leaks. It also has to sit somewhere, right? And not everyone's going to have a cabinet that they can put it underneath. But yes, I'm not opposed to that because thinking outside the box like that, that's one of the ways you find the way it's not going to break. We need a lot of electrical engineers to really diagnose it. Are they overheating? Is it what's the problem that actually sends these things off the rails? And then work on different builds. The fact it's 490 gallons per hour for $250 when I get an FX4 for 270 with 700 gallon per hour. Well, I don't put a whole lot of stock in gallon per hour. So for instance, for a long time, Eheim, they would rate their filters based on filled with media, and Fluval rates them with no media in it. So once you put a bunch of media in it, that gallons per hour drops down. That being said, you don't really want there to be a ton of turnover. You mostly want it to be efficient and easy to clean. And there's a bunch of benefits you want, but I wouldn't focus solely on the gallons per hour. So, all right. We only made it to 44. We were 6 short. So I'm going to call it because I could eat some lunch and I've got to see if there's a bald eagle eating my stuff. And I also want to spend my hour in the fish room. The lights just came on and I want to spend that dedicated hour. Today is the first day. I thought of it yesterday. I'm going to start it today. Start a new habit by getting it going. I will see you guys probably on Friday in a video. We went to Dean's. That's my guess is going to be the next one we're going to do. And I'm very appreciative of all the new members. And I totally get hey, you got 44 new members. You could stay on longer. but that also trains people to like, oh, well, he'll do it anyway. So I kind of got to stick to my word and be like, we didn't make it, so I got to go. Plus, I'm down to a little bit of drink, so. But thank you guys for purchasing. Thanks for hanging out. Leave comments down below. I'll try and answer them as always. Join the forum. I'll try to be helpful there. Yeah, it was a good time. We'll see. We'll start. Maybe we'll start next week at a 2-hour show, and we'll see how it goes again. We'll set the target, see if we make it, and yeah, it's been a good day. We'll see you guys later.